very firm, and the military accepts it, and as a matter of fact, they look upon that with great pride, that we do have this civilian leadership of the military. And I think it's fair for me to say that there's a great feeling of pride in the approach that President Reagan has taken to the military. It's been very important for morale and for the operating efficiency, and I don't hesitate in saying that there's a very good feeling about how he has tried to rebuild the military, and particularly the Navy.
Well, now the President really has not only been piped aboard the ship, but he now is becoming an honorary member of the crew. There's an Iowa cap that the President has just accepted. And that will go in the vast memorabilia bag that he and Mrs. Reagan are keeping someplace. Some ships just seem to sort of ad-lib their own salute. If they have horns, air horns, or whatever, they just let her rip anyway. Those private vessels that we see. Well, the Iowa is almost to Staten Island, which is a fairly short turn for a battle wagon. Admiral, this is Iowa number 4. If you count them, I believe, there are 4 vessels that have had the name Iowa since the inception, back in the 1890s or somewhere close to that, close to the age of the lady out there in the harbor. This Iowa is not, however, recent as far as its keel is concerned, is it?
No, it isn't. She was built basically for World War II, but was recommissioned, and I heard the figure not too long ago that her real life is probably a span of about 12 to 14 years, her actual operating life. And she was completely refurbished. All of her weapon systems are new, but it does span those 2 periods of time, you're right. And it's unique in that regard. And two of those things are very special. For example, although the Iowa is very fast, she's got a top speed of about 35 knots, she also has very, very heavy armor plating, something that you just don't see these days, that makes her very survivable in a combat situation. She has an armor belt of 12 inches of armor plate, high tensile steel. So it's a unique combination of some of the best of the way ships were built a number of years ago and some of the most modern.
Well, we've heard a lot of nautical music, and we have seen a great deal of Uncle Sam's Navy and Private USA's private boat Navy here today. The Iowa is sailing on toward that final salute on down the line. And as Admiral Callow has told us, not all the navies represented here are represented by ships. Several sent delegations to stand by. And now we're going to Tom Montier at Caven Point, New Jersey. Tom?
Reed, some people don't have as excellent a view as others of the parade of ships. Standing behind me here, you can see some people that they have to stand behind a fence because the area of the pier is dangerous. Excuse me, what kind of a view do you have from behind the fence?
Pretty good. Really, pretty good.
Would you be happy if you were out on the end of the pier?
Yeah, you could have got there later. We got here at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was pretty funny because it was all dark and there's nothing out there and there's little rats running across, you know, and it's like, ah, rats! But we trooped out here, we camped out overnight. We were a little leery because a fisherman who comes, he says he's been coming up here for, 17 years or something, told us that there was a fence here and that, the concrete had fallen in. And
so the view's not too bad, though, from even back here?
No, we wanted to go, but we didn't go because we were afraid of falling in.
Okay, enjoy the parade. So, although they aren't able to walk out to water's edge, people here seem satisfied with any vantage point. This is Tom Montier, CNN, reporting live from Caven Point.
I'm back here on Governor's Island with Admiral Callow, who is telling us all about the Navy because he's been in it. He's a retired Rear Admiral, and he knows about it. They're now taking the salute aboard the Iowa is the President and his First Lady from the Emery Pound, is it?
Emery S. Land.
From Emery Land. And what's significant about that vessel?
One of the things, Emery S. Land is a submarine tender. She has roughly 200 women in her full-time crew of about 1,100 people. Something that we've seen happen in the past few years, where women have moved into very responsible positions in all of the services, have begun going to sea. They're prevented by law from being in combat ships, but
All right.
the Navy can put them in ships that are not considered combatant, such as a submarine. They're there. There are 200.
All right. Thank you, Admiral. Let's get away from the harbor just for a moment. Go to Bob Kane in Atlanta for another kind of 4th of July celebration. Bob?
Indeed, far, far to the southwest of New York Harbor, another highlight of this 4th of July, 1986, is taking place near Austin, Texas. Willie Nelson's Farm Aid 2 concert is underway, has been for nearly 3/4 of an hour now. It began at 9 o'clock Eastern Time this morning. It is a concert at which Willie Nelson, the architect and primary sponsor, says he hopes to raise more than the $9 million raised in the Farm Aid 1 concert held last September at Champaign, Illinois. Nelson has, once again, this time for the Farm Aid concert, a sterling lineup of stars. He began with Julio Iglesias singing America after he had introduced himself and the concert as a whole, and then he and Julio Iglesias did their hit song, To All the Girls We've Loved Before. Throughout the day, those at the concert, as many as 40,000 tickets, it is hoped, will be sold. We'll see and hear the likes of the Beach Boys. The Beach Boys, we're told, are singing now, in fact, at Farm Aid 2 near Austin. Okay, we are seeing the Beach Boys. This is about the 3/4 of an hour mark of 18 hours of music and appeals for money to be made at Willie Nelson's Farm Aid 2 concert at Manor Downs Racetrack near Austin, Texas. At last report, nearly the 40,000 maximum of tickets have been sold. Day Watch will continue, including more coverage of Statue of Liberty celebrations at New York Harbor and the Farm Aid concert in Austin after this.
And so we're getting a little serenade, shipboard serenade now as the Iowa works its way down this gantlet of vessels here in New York's harbor. As we say, this is a band aboard ship. This is the aircraft carrier Kennedy's band that we're seeing now. President, of course, is going to the Kennedy. Once he's off the Iowa, he'll watch the fireworks from the aircraft carrier Kennedy this evening. Band getting in a little practice. Admiral Callow is with us still. We have been watching this, and we appreciate very much your filling us in on the historical aspects of it and some of the Navy lingo of it all. Now, if you're aboard the Kennedy, and again, you're a young sailor, do you keep a log? Do you say, gee, this day, the 4th of July, 1986, I was serving in the U.S. Navy and the President came aboard. Do people do that? Do men keep track of their lives in the Navy?
If I had to make a guess, I'd say most don't. Some probably do keep a diary, but my guess is that most don't. And part of the reason probably is you're so darn busy in shipboard life, just working and eating and sleeping, that keeping a log might be difficult to work in. So my guess is that not too many of them do, but it's a nice idea, and wouldn't it be nice for those young men if they did record that in a log or some kind of a diary.
And their families and their families' families.
You're so right. You are so right.
Well, we still see, and it's amazing, that there are small vessels still trying to line what is a cleared channel for the Iowa. It has passed the statue and is well down of us now. And we believe that the president is about to be piped back upstream by helicopter, and he'll probably be brought up back up this way. What does the Iowa do when this is over, Admiral? Do you just stand down and...
She's going to anchor off Stapleton in Staten Island, and they'll enjoy the rest of the day. And on the 5th, they will go alongside the pier over in Brooklyn. And then they'll have ships visiting over there. And there's quite a series of social events, and part of the crew will get ashore. And those people who were manning the rail, you have to believe one of the things that they were thinking about was getting through the ceremonies today and getting ashore so that they can enjoy part of the International Naval Review. And
you don't mean shore leave is still looked forward to, is it?
Is indeed. When I was in Kennedy the other night, there was quite a lineup of people who were getting ready to go ashore and see New York and enjoy it. When I was walking down in the very early hours of this morning through Lower Manhattan, it was also interesting to see two sailors from Ark Royal, because they have their hat bands that identify the ship, walking down Broadway hand in hand with two young women. So there were some basic elements of shore liberty that haven't changed for a long time. And bless them for it.
Well, the Ark Royal is, again, I know it has to be not the Ark Royal that we knew during the war. This is another Ark Royal. Do we have any idea how many of those have borne that name?
I don't.
Well, you're not Her Majesty's Navy, so you don't have to. But it is suffice to say at least two.
Yes, it is a very distinguished name in the history of the Royal Navy. And as well or better than anybody else, the Royal Navy recognizes history and its appropriateness and uses it as a form of continuity and morale building within their service.
There will be many things will happen today that we won't be able to see, and part of that probably will be some of the private conversation that President Reagan and President Mitterrand will have. President Mitterrand is going from here almost directly to the Soviet Union, where he has talks with the General Secretary of the Communist Party, Mikhail Gorbachev. And as the President talks aboard the Iowa, it's entirely possible that he'll be thinking about what he might say to Mr. Mitterrand vis-a-vis Mr. Mitterrand's discussions with Gorbachev. This will give him a last opportunity, however, if there are any messages to be borne back and forth that Mr. Shevardnadze and Secretary Schultz can't bear. This would be the chance to send a message if he wishes. Is Captain Neckow still the commanding officer of the Iowa?
I believe he has been relieved fairly recently. He had Iowa for quite a while as the commanding officer, and I believe the captain is now Captain Larry Sequist, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. It's hard to get a look. Does that look like he?
That's a flag officer.
That's a flag officer
so
there, all right.
That would not be Captain Sequist.
That's not a captain at all.
That has to be an admiral. A little bit difficult on the screen to see.
It certainly is. We're up here, we should say, in very bright sunlight, and what we see is not exactly what you see. Now we see the Eagle has come into view, getting on up toward us. We're getting all sorts of varieties here today.
I sailed an Eagle from Bermuda to Newport a number of years ago.
Really?
What an experience that was.
Were you training on it, or what were you doing?
No, I was a guest of the Coast Guard, and they were on a training cruise. They had cadets from the Coast Guard Academy working the ship and sailing the ship as part of their summer training. And when that ship set sail out of Bermuda and began sailing, I'll tell you, it was a feeling like nothing I've ever felt before.
There's a lot of work aboard anything that has sails in it is to be avoided if you don't like to keep busy all the time. Isn't that true?
Yes, that's true, and it's the kind of work that teaches you something about yourself. It teaches you some of the basic elements of seamanship, how to rely on your own abilities and how to rely on the abilities of others. It's very fundamental to work a ship like that, and it's very good training. They train seamen, and that's the first thing you have to be when you go to sea, no matter how sophisticated the technology is.
But if you're going to be a radar operator or a computer operator aboard a large battle wagon like the Iowa, why do you have to learn anything at all about a sail?
It teaches you basics. It teaches you basics about what is involved in going to sea. It will give you a sense or a feel for what the ship has to do outside of your own department, outside of your own area, and it will make you a better radarman. It will make you a better anything to have an understanding of the seamanship involved in sailing a ship.
All right, and again we hear trumpet fanfares playing, and we see the battle wagon all arrayed there. Still making way, isn't it? You get to learn profiles of ships in the Navy, don't you? You could look at one and say, that's Iowa, that's Arizona, that's whoever that is.
Yes, you do. Quick recognition is important. Probably a little bit less important than it used to be, because a battle group now covers thousands and thousands of miles, and chances are, if you are in conflict and dealing with an enemy, you may never see them except on a radar screen, on a sonar scope. So the profile may be electronic that you're dealing with in contemporary warfare.
Well, the Eagle itself is a large vessel. Is it difficult to sail? Those square-rigged vessels look like they'd be a lot of work bringing them about, etc.
Yeah, my reaction was that if you know what you're doing, and those Coast Guard cadets and the people who were sailing that ship knew what they were doing, that it isn't that difficult to sail. Certainly physically it's demanding, and you have to know what you're doing, but when you've got it going, it's a beautiful thing to feel and to see. The power in that ship was amazing.
All right, now we see the helicopters coming in view that are going to pluck the president off his battle wagon and get him back to the viewing point where he'll watch the tall ships. And the tall ships, that we have already seen that the Eagle is underway, they're forming up down there somewhere below us and getting ready for their part in this parade. And they're going to be just about on time. This involves more than just rowing a rowboat. The hand-eye coordination, the timing of the whole event is a wonder to behold. To get the president on a battle wagon down the Hudson River, to get him almost to Staten Island, then to grab him by helicopter, get him back here, and meanwhile have a bunch of ships under sail, most of them too tall to get under the Brooklyn Bridge, arriving just about on cue under the Verrazano Bridge. That's something of a logistics dream, I suppose, to have it all come out right.
You're right, and I'm sitting here thinking one of the things that emerges as you see all of the different ships and the different types of ships and the complexity is how complex naval forces are today, and that occurred to me as we were watching all of this, and as a postscript for some of the people who may have been watching the program and who have some interest, Popular Mechanics has an excellent article in their current issue on the building of America that goes into the military and naval forces and gives you a good overview of how things fit together.
We have a good overview of the President and Mrs. Reagan now. He is wearing his Iowa cap as he is about to thank them for a job well done and say goodbye to a battle wagon and get to another vantage point from where he can say hello to some ships of another era, another century. So it's off to the next destination as soon as they can get the blades turned a little bit. It's an amazing thing if you think of the flying time that the presidency requires now. He's been flown in from near Tarrytown, Ocantico Hills, the old Rockefeller estate where he has made his headquarters. He's choppered, as they say, all the way to the Iowa. He has now sailed aboard a battleship some 12 miles, maybe a little more. Now he's about to chopper back up, land again, get off, get his land legs once more. I suppose you get sea legs on the short trip.
Oh, you do indeed.
All right. But many people in our era recall the days when it was really questioned whether a president really ought to be flying. Remember the old presidential airplanes, Columbine, and other craft? There was a serious question whether a president of the United States ought to get aboard one of those things at all. And now there's no question, in fact, the job is part of that sort of transportation.
The job is part of it, and I think the safety factors are such so that it is no more or less of a consideration than traveling in an automobile.
Well, we didn't mean to imply there was anything unsafe about it. It's just a remarkable thing as we look across the harbor here and look at the lady in her green patina from 100 years back and think of all the changes she has seen, and she has just borne witness to one of the more miraculous changes, that of the modes of the presidents of the United States. Long time since Grover Cleveland was over there on what was Bedloe's Island saying hello to that colossus that they had just uncrated from the French. A lot has happened. And there's a lot more to happen today. And the president is bound back our way. We saw him sail past Governor's Island. Now it's back to this spot and a watch of the tall ships ceremonies, which I suppose are perhaps the more visually interesting to many people. At least the off-sail operation in 1976 really stunned the eye of America and caught its imagination, I think, even beyond that which the sponsors had expected. Just something to see ships sailing around in real life that you saw in old black and white movies and didn't really know existed.
It's breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking.
All right, and here we see the beginnings of it as it's moving under the Verrazanos Bridge, the Narrows Bridge that's 18 miles from the George Washington Bridge. And they've got to form up and make that trip against a small outgoing tide, about 2 knots probably ebbing now. There's the familiar prow and bow of the Eagle. He just made it under the bridge. her square sails furled because it isn't that kind of a day. And as a landlubber, I can say thanks for that kind of a day, but I know men of sail would like a little fresher wind than this. Well, we see the passage of the old and the new as the Eagle slides past a little more modern way of conveyance. The Eagle is escorted by other ships, and we're going to get into more of that as opsail really gets underway here. But it's interesting that one of the escorting vessels was to have been the Pride of Baltimore, which, as we know, was so tragically lost off Bermuda here a month or so ago. And we believe that a place will be left vacant or perhaps filled in by someone else. We're going to find out a lot more about this when the master of the sail, Peter Stanford, joins us here. As the president is approaching, that's how it looks from the decks of the Eagle. Another old vessel there with a microwave dish on the right. That's the way modern communications works. And you can see her sails with the naked eye as she works her way around the point, having passed under the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, that little mouth that opens here into the upper harbor and bay. And all eyes now are turned toward the span under which the masts of the bark, the Eagle, are now passing. One of those bright and sunny days, glitting on the sail work. And the president and his escorting copters are going to get back just in time, we believe, to catch a view of the Eagle and the parade of ships that's going to follow. There we see the copters coming back here to Governor's. Well, let's go back to the Iowa. So recently, the president's ship, and CNN's Frank Sesno. Frank, are you there?
Yes, Reed, I'm here. Some may have said it would have been a bit early for a party, but a party it was, and the kind of party President Reagan likes best, with lots of circumstance and lots of pomp and lots of patriotic flair. President Reagan hit the decks of the USS Iowa at about 8:30 Eastern Time this morning and promptly inspected his Naval Honor Guard. This ship is dear to the president. It was returned to service about 2 and some years ago, brought out of mothballs as per his instructions as part of his rebuilding of the military. Now, of course, the crew of the Iowa wasn't the only crew saluting the president. All up and down the waterway here, the crews were tipping their hats and saluting the president. 21 gun salutes galore as he cruised by some 32 naval warships from various countries, the United Kingdom, India, West Germany, Canada, France, and so many others. We had aerial flybys as well, featuring among the many the Air Force Thunderbirds, who painted the sky in a beautiful red, white, and blue. It was the kind of thing that President Reagan liked best, and throughout the ceremonies, he and First Lady Nancy Reagan chatted between themselves and with so many of those aboard with them. Among the dignitaries, Secretary of Defense Weinberger, Secretary of State Schultz, Secretary of the Navy Lehman, and
Chief of Staff Donald Reagan. Why, they were so taken with this whole thing, they went to the very bow of the ship, took their own cameras with them, and snapped away just like ordinary tourists. At one point, Chief of Staff Reagan, who used to work in New York City with Merrill Lynch, said, "I feel like I'm home again." So it was the kind of grand old party that Ronald Reagan likes to attend best. He's off now to watch opsail. The tall ships go by all together. This will be the biggest naval parade in history. Frank Sesno, CNN Live, aboard the USS Iowa.
All right, now from the Iowa, let's go back to the ships of old and see if we can find John Holloman, who's aboard the Eagle. John?
Reed, this is a wonderful parade. I'll tell you, we're here with Captain Ernst Cummings, the captain of the Eagle. Captain, how did you feel when you cleared that bridge a couple minutes ago?
Oh, very proud to be an American. In fact, it's very difficult today not to be proud to be an American.
How do the people on this ship feel about what's going on today? I noticed yesterday in talking to the people, there seemed to be a little anticipation, and as the morning went by today, more and more people got more and more excited. Now everybody's right on the rails of the Eagle, looking over the side at the battleship Iowa over here to our right.
Well, the excitement has built. It started out last year, and now it's up to a crescendo. Everybody on board right now is standing a little bit taller. They're a little bit prouder to be Americans, proud to be in a Coast Guard, and proud to be on Eagle. You look around, and it's tough to find a dry eye.
Exactly. We're looking right now up on the rails, I guess, or not the rails. What's going on above us here?
Up on the yards, we're doing what we man the yards. Right now, we have a headwind, so we have our staysails flying. Hopefully, if the wind stays out of the northwest, when we get to the George Washington Bridge, we can turn around and pop our squares. But since we don't have our squares set, we have our young men and women manning the yards right now.
And it's interesting to me that you have cadets who are running the ship right now. I mean, they are doing the navigation and all of that, right?
Well, we are a training ship, and that's what we're on, a training cruise. And what better training can they get?
I'll tell you, it is an exciting moment for me, especially as we come under the bridge and come past the Iowa here. I'm proud to be aboard your ship, Captain.
Well, we're proud to have you, and we're all proud of America today.
Captain Ernst Cummings, thanks a lot. We're looking now to the front of the Eagle, and as you can see, there is a huge parade not only ahead of us, but behind us. There are 22 protocol vessels behind us. So, this is John Holloman, CNN, reporting live from the Coast Guard cutter Eagle.
Why, John, and one of those ships you mentioned behind you is the Esmeralda. She's representing the nation of Chile. There's something more than a controversy. There was 10 years ago when it first got in line for the opsail, and there's been controversy again. And Mark Leff can tell us that story.
To people everywhere, the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of freedom. To the sailors of Chile's Navy, the tall ship Esmeralda is the White Lady, for more than 30 years a symbol of national pride.
We don't want that ship near Miss Liberty, send Esmeralda home.
But to many human rights activists in this country and elsewhere, the Esmeralda is a symbol of evil.
The ship represents repression, killing, torturing, disappearing, misery of people.
13 years ago, a military coup ended the elected government and the life of Chile's Marxist president, Salvador Allende. Hundreds of prisoners were tortured and killed during General Augusto Pinochet's takeover. Some, it's alleged, aboard the Esmeralda. Pinochet's government, still in power, has always denied that charge and says the four-masted vessel has been used always and only as a training ship for naval and merchant marine officers. There were protests when the Esmeralda took part in the bicentennial a decade ago, but it returned in 1982 to help the city of Philadelphia celebrate. The Esmeralda's invitation to the Liberty celebration sparked debate on Capitol Hill, the Senate passing a non-binding resolution condemning its participation, the House rejecting a similar measure. And when the ship called at Norfolk, Virginia on her way to New York, there were demonstrators at dockside.
People weren't being tortured in Chile today. If there were democracy in Chile today, we'd welcome this ship. This ship is gorgeous. I wish we could welcome this ship.
Some protesters took their case to the doorstep of Operation Sail in New York, but to no avail.
The spirit of Operation Sail is the international goodwill of the seamen. This is a gathering of sailors from around the world.
Both South Africa and the Soviet Union declined their invitations to this year's Operation Sail, and Washington officials have revealed the administration rescinded an invitation to South Africa to participate in a companion event, the International Naval Review. But whatever the Esmeralda stands for, it has its place this 4th of July alongside 21 other floating symbols, and the biggest symbol, which overlooks them all. Mark Leff, CNN, reporting.
So that's part of the controversy that is sailing along here as off sail the parade of the tall ships gets underway under the Verrazzano Bridge. We want to thank retired Admiral Joseph Callow for having told us so much about the other part of the Naval Review, the International Naval Review. It's been good of you to be with us, sir. We've learned a lot, and we'll wish you a happy 4th of July, sir.
Reed, I thank you. It's been my pleasure, and I've been very proud to be part of the review by our Commander-in-Chief, who's done so much for the morale and the attitude in the military.
Good to have you aboard, I think you
My
say.
pleasure.
All right, sir, thank you. And we'll continue in just a moment.
CNN's coverage of Liberty Celebration is brought to you by Metropolitan Life and affiliated companies, and by IBM, the connection to have.
Hi, I'm John Creedon, president of Metropolitan Life. This 4th of July is a spectacular celebration of our country's independence. The restoration of the Statue of Liberty is a special cause for pride, patriotism, and optimism for all Americans. All of us in the MetLife family of companies wish you a happy 4th of July. Please join the 44 million members of the MetLife family. Remember, get Met, it pays.
Where you been? Busy. My son's home with the family. From the city? Must have cost a bundle. He just got a big promotion. Your son? Yep. The business was growing too fast. The right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. He finally knows his right hand from his left? He knew IBM could help. They've got computers and software for any size business. He put computers on everyone's desk, used something called telecommunications to tie all their offices together. Now everyone knows what's going on, from L.A. to New York. No one understands what's going on in New York. How'd your son know IBM did all that? He's a smart boy. Smart boy, I'll say. Smart boy. Who'd he take after?
In its current form for 210 years. We're going to go over to the Jersey side of the harbor now, and Dave Monsees, who's standing by at Stevens. Can you hear us, Dave?
One of the things that the organizers of this extravaganza have been concerned about now, almost from the outset, is what do you do when you have a line of 17, 18 beautiful, old, tall ships and 10, 20, 30,000 small boats all crammed into the same harbor? Those tall ships cannot maneuver very quickly once they're in the slow-speed environment of New York Harbor. I was told yesterday by a master chief off the USS Kennedy that even if one of those tall ships has to make the most slight course correction, it can involve having to pull on no less than 120 different lines. And to be able to do that quickly enough to be able to avoid a collision or some kind of an incident with some small privately owned boat could be almost impossible. So that's where the Coast Guard has their work cut out for them, with any number of small launches and patrol boats out there in the channels, in the harbor, trying to make the way clear for the Eagle and the rest of the tall ships following behind her. Now, as to the course of the parade, it'll pretty much follow what's happened over the past hour or so with the International Naval Review and with the USS Iowa. Behind me, you see the lower part of the harbor of New York. The Eagle and the other 16 tall ships behind her will make their way up through the middle of the harbor, then just head straight north, in essence off the left-hand side of your television set right now, and up the Hudson River, turn around, and then later on this afternoon head back down south again. This will probably be the second most captivating element of the entire celebration. Obviously, to many, many people, the fireworks this evening will be the crowning event. But particularly to a city with such a harbor and such a nautical tradition as New York has had for hundreds of years, this just brings people out in droves. This is just such a spectacle to see. I can recall, Reed, as a matter of fact, I happen to have been lucky enough back in 1976 to have been involved in Operation Sail for the Centennial of the country, and came down from Newport on one of the foreign flag tall ships. I'll tell you, that's an experience you will never soon forget. This is Dave Monsey, CNN Live on the Jersey side of the Hudson River. Back to you.
What? You heard. I guess someone's having a little trouble here. Are we through? There we are. Now we're beginning again. The Naval Review is over. That we're sure of, and the tall ships, the Operation Sail 1986 is about to begin. To answer the questions about the sailing vessels, and they are probably as myriad as there are vessels, kind enough to join us today is Mr. Peter Stanford, the president of the National Maritime Historical Society. This, Mr. Stanford, and welcome, is an historic occasion of its own, isn't it?
It surely is. I think this is the greatest assembly of these vessels that's taken place ever since they started gathering 30 years ago.
And how does this... Yes, someone has neglected to give you a microphone. Let's get ahead of ourselves now and talk about tonight, something that has got to happen because night does fall. And there will be another fireworks demonstration this evening. It's going to be one of the more sensational ones we saw a little bit last night, but CNN's Tim Eulinger can tell us about the big blow-off tonight.
What could possibly top the fireworks for the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics? Or the pyrotechnics for the 1983 Brooklyn Bridge Centennial? Nothing could, right? Well, the fireworks for the Statue of Liberty will make these gigantic displays fizzle by comparison.
This is the greatest outdoor entertainment event of the 20th century, not only for the United States, but the entire free world.
The Brooklyn Bridge show used 9,000 rockets launched from 9 barges. But for the Statue of Liberty, they'll use 40,000 rockets on 40 barges that will be in a necklace formation around Manhattan. The show will use special machines that will choreograph the rockets with patriotic and ethnic music.
To the tempo of the music, these will go back and forth. Dee, 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 dum. And then bombettes will go bum, 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 bum. And this comes back, bum, 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 bum. But this will all be to the tempo of the music.
At the Grucci family fireworks compound on Long Island, they've been preparing for the show for months. Along with the International Company of Pennsylvania and the Pyro Spectaculars Company of California, the Gruccis have been working out a plan. All 40,000 shells will be placed in mortar casings that will be remote controlled by a technician.
Shell is launched out similar to a cannonball. It's launched out of the tube, and in here the time fuse is lit simultaneously, tumbles up to its apex, and explodes in the sky with all the different effects and colors that we plan and pack on the inside.
The Grucci family designed the Brooklyn Bridge Spectacular 3 years ago. But they say if everything goes right, the Statue of Liberty Centennial will be remembered as the fireworks event of the 20th century. Tim Eulinger, CNN, New York.
Well, that is this evening. We saw some fireworks last night. We've seen them before, but we've never seen a parade of sail quite like that, which is just beginning today. Because this one involves more ships than we had at the Op Sail 10 years ago at the bicentennial celebration, and probably more trailing vessels of more different types also. The man who would be able to say yay or nay to that is with us now. He's Mr. Peter Stanford, president of the National Maritime Historical Society. Mr. Stanford, does this bid fair to top them all?
Well, it does.
It's certainly the biggest and a moving occasion indeed. And it's moved the nations of the world, and that's why they're all here. There are 30 participating nations that I know of, and the count keeps changing. And there are 22 of these great super tall ships that are like elephants, and they inspire and awe like elephants. And when they get together, it's an occasion.
Sir, I think we're going to have the president landed here a moment ago, or landing here a moment ago, and then we're going to have him go to a USO show of some kind that we're going to take in a little bit of. Then he will be getting back into the viewing mode again, having come down aboard the battleship Iowa, and he will then view the parade of tall ships. So we're taking a look now at Walperville, as they call it in the media. That's the stage down there. And we'll join them now.
We thank you for this gift we commemorate today. For like your gift of love, this symbol has inspired millions to believe that there was hope and a new home. We thank you that the lady with her torch held high has stirred a new feeling in America, a feeling of unity, a feeling of belonging. For the great minds that envisioned her influence upon the peoples of the world, for those who gave their labors of love to place her here in America, we are grateful. For the untold millions who had faith in you and faith in her and faith in a world of peace, we thank you for her renewed splendor. May she continue to be a symbol of love, a symbol of friendship, and a symbol of hope for peace among all your children. We praise you, O God. We glorify you, O God, as we rededicate ourselves to love you and our neighbors more. Amen.
Ready?
Watch this amazing demonstration of the Tannery Wash and Wax, an amazing one-step formulation that washes away even tough road film as it automatically waxes your car so well with polysilicones that water beads. Add it to water according to directions, and then wash. As I'm washing this side, I'm also waxing with the polysilicones found in the higher-priced car polishes. Now I'll do the other side with another popular car wash product, so you can see the difference. Okay, now I'm done with this side and we're ready for the hose. Look what's happening to the side with the Tannery. The water is beading. With Tannery Wash and Wax, you simply wash your car and it's waxed. Better yet, it prolongs the life of waxed or polysealed finishes. Tannery Wash and Wax. At better stores everywhere. Works like a wash, beads like a wax.
This is CNN, the world's most important network.
Liberty is the statue, and much more.
Liberty Week continues on Take Two. Today, the Navy's real Top Gun, Secretary John Lehman, talks about the Navy's role in the Liberty celebration. Join Dave Walker and Lois Hart for Take Two, today at noon Eastern.
Alan Abelson, the editor of Barron's.
Usually buy a stock in the expectation that it's going to go up. The problem is you're buying it from someone equally convinced that it's going to go down. Now, who would you rather be? The person who reads Barron's or the person who doesn't?
Subscribe to Barron's now and get 26 weeks for only $41 with a money-back guarantee. Call 800-257-1257. 800-257-1257.
And we're listening to the Op Sales opening ceremony here on Governor's Island. These are the Garfield Cadets from upriver in Bergen County.
Ladies and gentlemen, the champion Garfield Cadets. Thank you.
And so we're looking at some of the pre-ceremonial goings-on in the Walper Village here on Governor's Island as they await the real beginning of Operation Sail, 1986. Patrick Greenlaw has the story now for us of some of those and their thoughts when they first saw the Statue of Liberty.
For 100 years, she has stood at America's golden door, a beacon of hope and opportunity. And for the nearly 20 million immigrants she welcomed, the lady's first touch lingers still.
We were awakened early in the morning. It was raining, it was bad weather, but we looked and we saw that wonderful, charming Statue of Liberty.
Everybody was up on deck early in the morning. I think every old, young, they had their children on their shoulders. And when we saw it, I think everybody was crying because they were so happy to be here.
When the people from the boat first noticed Statue of Liberty, they go like this.
It was just like going to heaven. If there was such a place, it was America.
And when I saw the Liberty in front of me, I said, it can be. I saw the torch, I said, it can be real, that I can see it with my own eyes.
But all that I saw and realized was a lady in the water, a great big statue of a lady in the water. But everybody was clapping hands and they were just crying and hugging each other that they saw this great big lady. Of course, later on I found out that that was the Statue of Liberty, and that was the gateway to this beautiful country, America, where we're all going to lead a much better and freer life.
For so many, America is a lady, her lamp raised for freedom, her first touch, a lasting memory.
To me, it was, I used to see America in movies. I used to say, oh, I'm here, you know. This is it. I can see it. This is America. I'm here.
For Liberty, I'm Patrick Greenlaw, CNN.
Liberty is brought to you by Ernst & Winnie, accountants, tax advisors, consultants, 350 offices worldwide.
The thousands of professionals at Ernst & Winnie salute Lady Liberty, but more than the statue itself, we salute the results of liberty, being able to pursue your dreams and achieve them, regardless of who you are or where you're from. Being able to travel as far as your talent can take you every day of your life. Achievement, a result of liberty, a result to celebrate.
The President of the United States has now gotten off the helicopter and he's back on solid ground here on Governor's Island and being introduced.
Accompanied by the President of the Republic of France and Madame Mitterrand. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please remain standing for the presentation of the colors of the Republic of France and the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the Republic of France, La Marseillaise, and our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, performed by America's leading mezzo-soprano, Miss Marilyn Horne.
Allons avant de la patrie, le jour de gloire est arrivé. Contre nous de la tyrannie, l'étendard sanglant élevé, l'étendard sanglant élevé. Entendez-vous dans nos campagnes, soldats, ils viennent jusque dans nos bras, égorger vos fils, vos compagnes. Citoyens, formez vos bataillons, marchons,
So the colors are being presented, having heard the anthems of both the nations. This is sort of a reprise of last evening for the presidents of the United States and their wives. They were in approximately the same place for last night's ceremony. This one is the one, however, that officially opens Op Sail. And even as the colors march and the singers sing, Op Sail is sailing. Most of the vessels, at least the forward end of the tall ships, have made their way under the Verrazanos Bridge south of here, and very shortly they'll be passing in review, to be reviewed by the President and his guest, Mr. Mitterrand. Some Op-Sail people have estimated it takes as long as 3 hours for this entire passing sail parade to make its way past any one given point. Little breeze has freshened up here somewhat, and it's believed that maybe some of the sailing ships will actually be able to use their sails and not rely maybe as much as they have on their auxiliary engines inside. picket masts, ships everywhere. Helen of Troy may have had a prettier face, but she certainly didn't watch the number of vessels that Miss Liberty has today.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of Transportation, Elizabeth Dole.
President Reagan, Mrs. Reagan, President Mitterrand, Madame Mitterrand, distinguished guests, and fellow Americans. Today, the maritime world gathers to pay homage to liberty enlightening the world. As Secretary of Transportation and Departmental Head of the United States Coast Guard, I hope you'll forgive me for looking with special pride on the first among the tall ships, the Coast Guard's own Eagle, which this year celebrates a birthday of its own, 50 years afloat, and as proud a symbol of American ideals as the lady herself. For months now, painters and poets, writers and musicians have struggled to tell us what gives Miss Liberty her firm grip on our imaginations. At first glance, there's her colossal size. But it was not that which moved thousands of shopkeepers and salesgirls, school children and farm hands to donate their nickels and dimes a century ago and a century later. No, it's not the size of the statue, but the boldness of the idea, the revolutionary notion that ordinary people have extraordinary potential. It is an idea as old as mankind and as fresh as the latest breakthrough in science or medicine. An idea which each generation must interpret for itself. This statue was meant to challenge as well as commemorate, to remind us that so long as opportunity is denied to a single man or woman, then our work as liberty's guardians is unfinished. I have yet to hear a better definition of Bartholdi's masterpiece than the one offered by little Haryan Singleton, a 10-year-old member of the Coast Guard community here on Governor's Island. The statue means freedom and justice, he says. We know she's right out there. Right out there indeed. And with Haryan's generation inspired to a similar idealism, she will remain out there to raise our sights and rouse our emotions for as long as this old world needs light to see by and a star to chart its course. God bless her, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Secretary Dole. Commemorating the gift of the Statue of Liberty.
Now let's get a little insight into what the president himself just went through on his long sail on the USS Iowa. CNN senior White House correspondent Charles Beerbar was with him. Charles, what can you report of this voyage?
To make these presentations, the French director of Post.
The Eagle, the Coast Guard ship that Secretary Dole just referred to. On board the Iowa, there was the military review, which we've all seen. In fact, the president's words finishing up was that it was absolutely brilliant. Ships to the left, ships to the right, 21 guns from both sides. The president said there were no words to describe his pride after he met with a number of sailors on board the Iowa. Indeed, it certainly was an occasion where the pictures spoke louder than words. There were a number of White House dignitaries on board. Secretary of State George Shultz was up in the prow of the ship watching the Statue of Liberty. Secretary Weinberger was taking pictures, ran out of film, borrowed some from a photographer. Admiral Poindexter, the National Security Advisor, was reminiscing how there weren't battleships through most of his naval career. And finally, Don Reagan, the Chief of Staff, was pointing out to a secretary where his old Wall Street office was. Did ask one question of Secretary Weinberger while we were out there. Asked him why he wasn't going to let those boxers go to Moscow, the military men and the boxing team, to take part in the Goodwill Games. The secretary didn't want to talk about it. His only response was, such a beautiful day.
When we go from here, the two presidents, President Reagan and President Mitterrand, will of course review the tall ships, but then they have a bilateral meeting. They're going to get together over lunch, and there is one important thing for them to talk about. That is Mr. Mitterrand's trip next week to Moscow. He will be meeting with General Secretary Gorbachev in Moscow, a meeting which President Reagan himself would like to have later on this year, and which it appears now seems more likely, although it may indeed slide into the beginning of 1987, but the two sides finally starting to make some very preliminary preparations for a summit, starting to talk in serious terms about some of the arms proposals which are on the table in Geneva. And that, too, will be a part of the discussions between President Reagan and President Mitterrand after the ceremony is here. Reed?
Thank you, Charles. Insightful as to what has happened and what yet may happen this day. As you speak, the bark is gradually making itself felt. It's a few thousand yards down from the reviewing stand now, but on it is CNN's John Holloman. John, what's it like?
There's been a tremendous increase in the atmosphere here. People are getting more and more excited. As you may be able to see, the crew of the Eagle is now on the starboard side rail. They're waiting to salute the president when we get on down to his location a little bit further along on the river. And probably, as you can also see, there are wall-to-wall boats, certainly on this side and on the other side. There's been a very narrow passageway for this tall ship and the other tall ships that are behind us to get through down here. And everybody is very excited, just ready and willing to continue this trip. The captain of the Eagle, Ernst Cummings, told us a little bit earlier that he did not anticipate a single dry eye on the deck of this ship when his Coast Guard recruits, young men and women, passed right in front of the Statue of Liberty. That's going to happen in about 10 minutes from right now. And something else to add to that, one of the original copies of the Declaration of Independence will be brought out here in the sunlight, something that's not done very often, for everyone to get a look at it, as the Statue of Liberty also appears up on our horizon. John Holloman, CNN, live from the Eagle.
And so that is the scene which is approaching very, very slowly the reviewing stand here, the scene aboard that vessel, the Eagle, which is, as our expert, Mr. Townsend, can tell us, Mr. Stanford, pardon me, sir, can tell us, is a bark. Why is it a bark, sir?
Well, it's a bark because she has square sails on her first two masts, and then a fore and aft sail that hangs from a spar called a gaff on the third mast. But when you look at the ship, it becomes very clear. The square sails go across the ship, and the fore and aft sails go longitudinally, lengthwise.
It has nothing to do with the size of this vessel, which I think has some considerable length to it. It looks like a big one.
Oh, yes, she's a big ship. She was built in the 30s as a sail training ship, actually as part of Hitler's program in Germany, but she's sailing to a better purpose today.
It might be worth noting that it was named the Horst vessel when it first was sailing. That's one of the anthems of the old SS, but I guess that doesn't appear in much of the biographical material about the bark, the Eagle, these days. There were 5 sister ships, I believe, and another one also is, I think, being sailed today.
Yes, indeed, that's right. They're an extremely popular type, and some of the new South American vessels are virtual sister ships.
All right, we have on board the Eagle a facsimile of the original Declaration of Independence, which serves as an excellent reminder that this is not simply a sailing exercise, not simply the 100th anniversary of the standing of the Statue of Liberty, but the 210th anniversary of these United States, without which all of this would probably be impossible and improbable and unnecessary. Let's go ashore now for just a moment from the island to the other island of Manhattan in Battery Park and Charles Feldman. Charles?
Reed, everybody is here in place waiting for the parade of tall ships to begin. People in the bleachers, people outside of the bleachers. There's going to be about a 3-hour parade passing the point where we are at as the ships go up the Hudson River to the George Washington Bridge, then go under the bridge and turn right back around and come right down the Hudson River. Now, earlier today at Battery Park, the crowds began to arrive. In fact, when I got up about 4 this morning, I bumped into a lot of people already streaming down there to get a good position for this operation sale, the 3rd time we've had it in the United States, 3rd time here in New York. And they have been doing all kinds of things. There have been people who are sleeping overnight. One lady told us that she was under the impression that Mayor Koch was going to let her sleep there all night, and then the police kept moving her away, so she kept getting up every time the cops came along and moved from spot to spot. But she was tenacious. She managed to hang in there, and she's in her place to watch Operation Sale. It is packed in Lower Manhattan. There is no traffic moving through the area. That has been sealed off, so it is sort of a giant picnic area, if you will. The weather is beautiful, so that's not going to be a problem. It's cool, it's dry, it's very sunny, as you can obviously see in your picture there. And the people, all kinds. There are people who are paying money for seats at bleachers, and then the people in Battery Park in Lower Manhattan, well, they're just there for free to enjoy the good air and to enjoy the sparkling scenery that they are expecting to see as the ships come sailing by. And we're going to be here throughout that event. Charles Feldman, CNN, reporting live from Battery Park.
Right, and the red, white, and blue fireboats are doing their thing as the first of the sails approaches the reviewing stand. And we'll approach the reviewing stand ourselves with more of this glorious day in just a minute.
Orchestra leaders and singing stars like these made some of the single most famous records of all time during the big band years and shortly after. And now, from those golden years of recording, here are 50 of the most famous records ever made. For the first time in one collection, the most famous big band records ever made. Plus, the most famous records by the unforgettable singing stars of yesterday.
Unforgettable.
Joe Stafford's timeless classic.
Long ago and far away.
Eddie Howard's famous hit.
To each his own, to each
Beloved Kitty Callan.
Little things mean a lot.
You'll enjoy 50 all-time recording classics. You get the legendary group's most famous hits.
If I didn't care.
50 timeless songs. Every record is full length. 50 of the most famous records ever made. A never-before-offered treasury. Your only chance to get these 50 recordings of timeless beauty. Order now before the offer ends.
To save COD fees, have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-257-1257. Or send 1998 to Big Band Classics, Box 8250, Atlanta, Georgia 30306. Specify whether 3 records, 3 cassettes, or 3 8-track tapes. Write it down. Offer ends without notice. Call toll-free 1-800-257-1257.
Happy birthday, America. I'm Nick Gregory with the latest CNN weather update. And as we look at our latest high temperature chart, we find that it is a rather cool day for July across the Northwest. We've had snow reported into our weather office this morning coming in across the parts of Idaho. 50s and 60s there. It's a hot and dry forecast in the Midwest, and 70s and 80s for the East. More weather coming up later. Here's Reed.
Nick, here come the President and Mrs. Reagan up to the reviewing stand. Mr. Iacocca greets them, and the President speaks.
It's been said that we Americans count our blessings too seldom, but not this weekend. This weekend, we celebrate, my friends, we cut loose. The procession that we're about to witness will be as colorful as fireworks, as majestic as Lady Liberty herself. I hear you. It'll speak to us of the past, of the days when great ships like these dropped anchor in our harbors to unload tea from China, whale oil from open seas, and yes, immigrants from around the world. It'll speak to us of present and future amity between our nation and the many nations that have sent ships here today to lend their beauty, the curve of their hulls, the lines of their masts and rigging as they stand out against the sea, the sky, to our rejoicing. Passing in review today, we see more than 20 of the 30 or so tall ships that are left in the world. The U.S. Coast Guard bark Eagle will lead the procession. Schooners, barks, brigantines, and ketches from more than 30 countries are entering the harbor. Somehow men have always found moving the sight of these vessels of moon, wood, and metal and canvas. Indeed, some centuries ago, one writer of Proverbs described as wonderful the way of a ship in the midst of the sea. Perhaps it has something to do with the knowledge that nothing binds sailing ships, nothing holds them back, that they can travel anywhere across the vast and trackless sea. Perhaps indeed these vessels embody our conception of liberty itself, to have before one no impediments, only open spaces, to chart one's own course, to take the adventure of life as it comes, to be free as the wind, as free as the tall ships themselves. It's fitting then that this procession should take place in honor of Lady Liberty. And as the wind swells the sails, so too may our hearts swell with pride at all that Liberty's sons and daughters have accomplished in this, the land of the free. This spectacle has been literally years in the planning. On behalf of the American people, I want to thank Ambassador Bus Mossbacher and his entire operations sales staff for making this international celebration, this stately salute to liberty. And now, Bus, where are you? Come forward. Thank you.
President Mitterrand, Madam Mitterrand, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, so much has been said that there's very little I can add, except perhaps to thank the President, because without his very warm and enthusiastic support from day one, and day one was about 3 years ago, the group, this dedicated group who presented Opsail in 1964 and in 1976, each time vowing never to do it again, decided that the Centennial of the Statue of Liberty and a salute to liberty was very much in order. But no matter how hard they work and how expert they are, and they are, it could not have been done without the President. So as a small token, Mr. President, from our board of directors and all of the volunteers, and they are all volunteers, may we present to you, sir, this token of our thanks and esteem.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And now, sir, with your permission, may we present your eagle and Elizabeth Dole's eagle and Opsail 86. I can carry that back.
Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you now to enjoy the tall ships from around the world, paying tribute to the Statue of Liberty on this 210th anniversary of independence.
Right, and now let's go to CNN Senior White House correspondent Charles Beerbauer. Charles?
All right, sorry, I couldn't hear you there. There is a good bit of music going on. Well, the President and President Mitterrand will be on their way over next to review the tall ships that the President referred to as the conception of liberty, the air in their sails. He said his heart swells with pride when he sees them. Pride, a word he's used a couple of times today. Also on board the battleship Iowa. After the tall ships parade, Presidents Reagan and Mitterrand have their working lunch, where I'm told that they most certainly will be talking about Mr. Gorbachev, or Mr. Mitterrand's trip, rather, to Moscow to meet with Soviet leader Gorbachev next week. They will be talking about arms control. We are told by White House officials that they are not sending any message with Mr. Mitterrand to Gorbachev. Indeed, that the White House is still working on a response to Mr. Gorbachev's letter of a couple of weeks ago, and that response will be forthcoming, but it's not imminent. It's going to take a little more time. Just a final note from Moscow, Mr. Gorbachev himself has sent congratulations, as is the custom, to the people of the United States and to President Reagan. Congratulations on the 4th of July holiday, and Mr. Gorbachev expressed a hope, at least, for arms control. The President, too, will probably make the same kind of expression when he gets around to sending that letter back to Gorbachev. Read.
Thank you, Charles Bierbauer. As the politics of the day and tomorrow and the next day continues, the pageantry of the past is right before us now. Just a beam of the lady herself, the Eagle, and our expert, Peter Stanford, can tell us what's following next. The Pride of the Baltimore was supposed to have been here. Of course, as we know, she was lost. What's taking her place here?
She was lost in May in one of those accidents that is part of seafaring, and her place has been taken by the schooner Bowdoin, which was an Arctic exploration schooner for many years, and which has recently been refitted and rebuilt down in Maine, courtesy of the small shipyard, and she's now sailing with young people and crew out of Boston, Massachusetts. I think the decision of the upsail people was that we mourn the passing of the Pride of Baltimore and her captain, Armand Elsasser, and 3 other crew members, but the work of sail training goes on, and that's the point of the boat being there.
All right, we have now that number of men who are aboard the square sails standing there as if they might drop the squares and might be completely under sail. And there isn't quite that much breeze out here today, is there?
Well, what breeze there is a nice breeze. The next ship astern, the Denmark, which was a sail training ship for the Coast Guard before the Eagle was. She was a sail training ship for the Coast Guard during World War II. She was a Danish ship interned and then put to work in this country during the war, and then she returned. And it's ironic, as you were pointing out earlier, that the Eagle was then a Nazi ship, but we don't try to hide that. We celebrate that she now sails to a good purpose in freedom. The Denmark, anyway, who has a wonderful skipper and a marvelous crew. They go on very long cruises, and so they get a very, very, perhaps one of the best crews in the whole fleet. And they have hung out a little laundry, as we say. They've got a couple of their squaresails set. That is astern of the Eagle. Right now, you see the Eagle has just her staysails. And these are the schooners that are just behind the Eagle. There's the Spirit of Massachusetts. They're just coming by Lady Liberty. It really is a incredibly moving scene when you're there on the spot. That statue really dominates the harbor. That's what it was meant to do, and it did it long before the age of television.
Right, let's get a look at the Eagle from the Eagle's eye and go to John Holloman. John, you're passing by. Ahoy!
Reed, I must tell you, this is a beautiful sight here. What is going on directly in front of our camera is that they're bringing out the Declaration of Independence, one of the 21 original copies of the Declaration. But as you can probably see over the heads of the dignitaries here, there is the lady. And it is a beautiful sight to everybody on this ship this morning. It is just remarkable. You can also see the expanse of smaller boats, sailboats and power boats out in the water here. As you may be able to tell right now, the dignitaries who helped to provide this copy of the Declaration and leaders in the Operation Sail movement itself are also here, and there are helicopters flying over, skyriders, airplanes. It's just a remarkable sight here. And at the top of it all, the Statue of Liberty. John Holloman, CNN Live aboard the Eagle.
And as we're back on Governor's Island, as we oversee it, the Denmark, as Mr. Stanford just mentioned to us, does have some sails dropped. Some of those square rig sails, they don't seem filled with very much air because there just isn't a whole lot of air moving here as we approach midday in the harbor. The Denmark has been announced, and there is a vessel to her starboard side and behind, which is escorting her, which has darker sails, almost red sails in the noon set here. What is that one?
That's a vessel called the Eleanor of Denmark. So the two sisters are together, the big square rigger and the schooner.
There are some 15,000 yards, I think, separating some of the main tall ships here. At least that was the plan as they went by. That was to give everybody enough sailing and maneuvering room should he need it. Nobody has needed it yet, however. All of the audience boats seem to either be at anchor or moving very slowly out of the lane. Let's go to Battery Park now. Charles Feldman, you must be getting a head-on view of what's happening here.
I sure am, Reed, and it is very pretty. You can see, I think, in the picture, there's a tug going by, spewing out a stream of water, and behind her, the tall ships are now sailing up the Hudson River on their journey to the George Washington Bridge. It really is. I agree with John Holloman, who is perched in his position on the Eagle. It is a beautiful sight to see. There are a bunch of small vessels all around, people from all across the United States who came on up to New York Harbor in order to witness this event firsthand. And it is a breathtaking sight. It's sort of like watching an old pirate film on television. You see all these huge sails coming in our direction. There are blimps flying overhead. It's a sort of surrealistic setting. Also, a little bit further downstream, or actually a little bit up the river, I should say, there's even a floating barge for an orchestra. And from time to time, they kick up the band, and they've been playing all kinds of things, from the Battle Hymn of the Republic to God Bless America. And I suspect that as soon as the tall ships cross in front, I'd be willing to bet anything that they're going to start playing again. Let me tell you also something about the Denmark, too, which is the first sailing ship that's going to be coming up behind the Eagle. The Denmark was in New York City. It's made this very trip way back in 1939. And the reason it did that was for the 1939 New York World's Fair. It's a full-rigged ship, and it was launched back in 1932 in order to train merchant service officers in Denmark. It is a beautiful ship to see. Its length is about 253 feet. Its sail area is 17,610 square feet, and as I said before, I think it was built in 1932. Its home port, Copenhagen, Denmark. Beautiful sight here. Charles Feldman, CNN, live at Battery Park.
Right, we have some history, Charles. Thank you. I believe the American Wind Symphony Orchestra probably will play what you said they will play, and nobody will take that bet. There is a vessel that looks sort of like a schooner over there. It has sort of dirty sails and looks as if it has seen a lot of history. Peter, what is the history of that dirty sailed ship coming up here?
Well, we would say that she has weather-worn canvas. She is the schooner Ernestina, and she brought immigrants from the Cape Verde Islands to the United States right up until 1965. And the islands are relatively poor, and they have a very proud seafaring tradition. And they took that old Gloucester fishing schooner, which had been known as the FEM Morrissey, and they rebuilt her at their own initiative in their yard. And our group, the National Maritime Historical Society, worked with them, but they did the work, the real work. And she is now sailing out of New Bedford in an organization called Schooner Ernestina Incorporated. And the Cape Verdean community, which clusters around there a lot, she's their ship. They really and truly came to this country on that ship.
So the lady in the harbor might have a special affinity for that particular one as she goes by. Now and again you'll hear and see some cannonading over by Liberty Island, and then some parachuted material comes down also. That's just one of those little curvette side plays that we have here. On any other day, and by itself, it alone would be remarkable, but there are so many remarkable things happening, all in the sequence of the event, that it's hard really to fasten one's eye on very much of any one thing. The tall ships, however, are center stage, and they are in the channel of the harbor, and they are the objects of our attention, and I dare say affection now. We'll return to the parade of the tall ships in just a moment.
CNN's coverage of Liberty Celebration is brought to you by Metropolitan Life and affiliated companies.
Just sitting there, your home is probably becoming more and more valuable. That's why Metropolitan offers an option on homeowners insurance that automatically increases your coverage to keep pace with rising home values. So you can relax with the knowledge that you're always fully protected, and you'll get a fair settlement from Metropolitan. Get Met. It pays.
The parade of the tall ships continues here as we approach midday on Governor's Island. The President and Mrs. Reagan, Mr. Mitterrand, the President of France, and Madame Mitterrand are all reviewing this parade of vessels as they pass by between Governor's Island and the channel that separates Governor's Island and Liberty Island and the Statue of Liberty, which hasn't blinked once this morning, although there have been many sights to see that would evoke a tear from the eye of a patriot. Mr. Peter Stanford is the expert on sailing vessels, and he has consented to join us here. What's coming up next there?
Well, we have the Christian Radish with quite a few sails set above her topsails, her square topsails that go across the ship. She's got topgallants set, and that was a sail that came in Elizabethan times, and that's why it has such a romantic name. And above that, if they were able to set them right now, there would be the Royals. She is an interesting Norwegian vessel. She came into South Street Seaport Museum a few weeks ago to open a display on an exhibit on John Street and East River, the building is, on Norwegian immigration. And of course, right here in this neighborhood over in Bay Ridge in Brooklyn, we have a solid wall-to-wall Norwegian population. I once hailed a taxi in the middle of New York, and it had a Norwegian flag in the window, and I asked him why, and he said, if you came from Bay Ridge, you'd know why. Nobody would pick him up unless he had that flag. So the Christian Radish bears that very contemporary relation with immigration and with the whole seafaring traditions of the harbor. A lot of the harbor people are Scandinavian, and they all maintain close ties with the mother countries, Denmark and Norway and Sweden.
But everybody didn't go to Minnesota, is what you've been telling us, eh? It couldn't have been a better day. We had good flying weather, we had flybys, we had flyovers, we have had everything conspiring perfectly for us, and this Queen of the Bay over there has just been gleaming in a sunlight. There's not a thread of rain, as all 151 newly refurbished feet of her are smiling at this parade in her honor. John Holloman, ahoy aboard the Eagle. Are you there? Well, I was told John Holloman was available. Perhaps he's in irons. John?
Level?
It's the microwave. It's not the brig that's got us over there, so we'll be all right, I think, for a time yet. When John Holloman is available, though, we'll go back to the Eagle, the lead ship. Here comes a vessel just abaft us now, I believe, that seems to be red sailed. Why is it red, sir?
Well, red sails in broad daylight instead of the sunset is because they're treated with an ochre composition to help preserve the canvas. She is the Alexandria, which is a Baltic schooner of some years, but she isn't showing them. She looks very good. That is today sailed for educational purposes out of Alexandria across from Washington, D.C. And just behind her is a very appropriately named, certainly one of the most beautiful of the ships, and probably the fastest, the Libertad of Argentina. I've sailed in her. She's a great ship from a great country with its own very proud traditions. And she probably, I say probably because there's a lot of argument about who holds what records in crossing oceans. Nobody gives anything away, but she probably holds the record for crossing the Atlantic under sail in something under 10 days, only about 10 or 20 years ago. So they're still sailing them hard, and she belongs to the Argentine Navy.
All right, so that's truly a vessel of the line. It's just not for fun.
Yes, that's right. Actually, none of them are for fun. They're almost all in sail training work, encountering the risks and actual perils, as we've seen with the loss of the Pride of Baltimore, of seafaring. It's a character-building experience, and Secretary Dole was saying before, she seems a very eloquent woman, I think. She said that each generation of Americans has to learn some things again in their own way and give it their own meanings, and we feel that that's a lot of the purpose behind the sailing of these ships. They're real, and they're not just stage props, and I think that the people feel that, and I think they're right to feel it. They come from all over the world, and they really have to do hard sailing to get here.
All right, now this large Argentinian Libertad seems to have two escort vessels to either side and to the rear of her. What are they?
Well, the gray schooner, the boat with two big sails, is, I think, the Voyager, if I've got that right. It looks an awful lot like her, which is used for harbor sailing and for sailing with people for hire aboard, and also for sail training. The other vessel, the very picturesque-looking sloop, would be recognizable in any harbor in the world. She is a replica of John Paul Jones's first command, the famous admiral. And she's called the Providence, and she's sailed by an association called Seaport 76 in Newport, Rhode Island, about 150 miles to the east.
All right, sir. Let me stop you now and see if we can find John Holloman, who is now far upstream aboard the Eagle. John?
Yes, Reed. I can barely hear you. As you can hear, one of these tugboats is making a lot more noise even than you are this morning. And what you can see behind me here is some of the other tall ships in this parade. This is quite a view, as you can, I'm sure, tell by now. As you look back over the stern of the Eagle, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 10 of the other tall ships, and back behind these, probably back at Governor's Island at your location, you can see even more. But it is quite a sight here. The anticipation that these men and women of the Coast Guard and the guests aboard this tall ship have been feeling has just grown and grown and grown. We are coming up now to what looks to be a huge crowd, bigger than any professional football game crowd I have ever seen, over on the shore on the Manhattan side. And everybody here is very excited. I noticed yesterday and the day before that the people aboard this ship didn't usually wave to people on shore. That has changed a great deal today. A lot of people are waving to the folks in the other boats and to people on shore. So it is quite a sight here. The weather is just perfect. There is a little breeze. Reed, you were talking earlier about the fact that there was not enough wind to really use the sails aboard the Eagle. I talked to the captain about that. He says, based on the way the wind is coming right now, what will probably happen is in about 2 hours from now, we will turn around and we will be coming back out in the opposite direction of where we're going right now. And when that happens, we'll be able to unfurl these huge square-rigged sails aboard the Eagle, and we'll be able to go considerably faster than we are right now if the traffic in this harbor will allow that. So that's the situation here right now. All the members of the crew talking among themselves, everybody with smiles on their faces, everybody from Navy admirals to the admiral who is in charge of the Coast Guard Academy up in New London, Connecticut, where the Eagle is based when she is not out doing these cruises. All just very excited about this day. John Holloman, CNN, live aboard the Eagle.
All right, that's John Holloman, who was not in irons aboard the Eagle, but as we hear, is coming in loud and clear. With me is the Secretary of the Interior, Mr. Donald Odell, who has had the pleasure of viewing from our stand up here at Top Governor's Island. What do you think of the show?
Oh, this is absolutely spectacular and exciting. I can't express it adequately.
Well, give it a try. Did you think going into it, with some of the controversy and some of the other things that have surrounded this thing, that it would come off as well as it has?
Well, you know, I really hoped that it would, and I did know that one thing about monuments in this country is they are controversial. Everybody has his own idea of how it ought to be done differently, but the fact is, all in all, I think that there's a tremendous outpouring of excitement and enthusiasm and pride in the country that's being demonstrated yesterday and today and throughout this weekend. It's just thrilling.
Sir, you were most effusive in your praise last evening in introducing Mr. Iacocca. Did you rewrite that introduction over the recent weeks, or was that the way it always would have been?
That was the first draft on that part of the introduction. The fact is, I've said very complimentary things about him, even during the time when there was some controversy back in February. He's done an outstanding job on the fundraising. There was no personal animosity, and as I think he said yesterday, that was a hiccup, and it's behind us now, and this celebration dwarfs all that.
I'm sure it does, and I'm sure it will soon be forgotten, as someone once said, as an event or an incident. But let me ask you, sir, where are you going to go ultimately with Ellis Island? That still remains something of a problem.
Actually, Ellis Island comes in two parts. The north part is clear. That's being restored. That's the Great Hall. That's where everybody arrived and was processed, and that's being restored to its original state. The south end of the island is the part that's still up in the air, up to question about how that will be handled. And the thing I've done is I've asked the Ellis Island Commission, which is headed by Armin Avedisian, 65 good Americans and true who will give their very best advice on how they think it ought to be restored. And there are numerous opportunities to be considered. I was talking to Senator Moynihan this morning. He has some thoughts. I recommended he put those into the commission as well. So that in about 6 or 8 months, I should be hearing from them, and then I'll have an opportunity. If everything works the way it ought to, what will happen is the commission, the foundation, Lee Iacocca, the National Park Service will all make the same recommendation to me, in which case the job will be easy. If they don't, we'll have a more difficult time, and we'll have to make some decision about what should be done.
Mr. Iacocca indicated that if need be, he could bail out Mr. Walper with the overage that he's collected. Can he do that?
The legal aspects are clear. Yes, he could. He and I have talked about that as well. We've said all along, we do not want monies that were collected for the restoration of the statue or Ellis Island to be spent for the celebration. The celebration should stand on its own feet, and we still hope it will. If it does not, I've suggested to him I would gladly join with him and try to help raise the money necessary to meet any shortfalls so that we don't have anybody suggesting that we've taken money collected for the restoration and spent it on a celebration.
All right. Is this area of the interior your biggest headache now? I know it's the focal point of your consideration, as it is for all of us, but what other major tasks do you face, you think, as Secretary of the Interior?
The Department of Interior is almost a department of miscellany. We have everything from the national parks and the Fish and Wildlife refuges through the Bureau of Reclamation, dams and irrigation projects in the West, and the Bureau of Land Management, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, plus 5 other bureaus. The South Pacific territories are part of our responsibility. So I can look around this department and find controversy and conflict going on everywhere. It's the nature of the job, and as I kiddingly say, I'm the 45th secretary, and it's been really gratifying me to read history and find out this job's never been a stepping stone to anything.
And you found that out, but this has been a great stairway to something else for us all.
This has been a rebirth of pride and excitement in America. You know, the president has created an atmosphere in this country over the last 6 years of pride in America. We've got a program coming up called Take Pride in America to encourage people to be good stewards of the parks and the refuges and the public lands. But the president's created the atmosphere, and I think what we're seeing here this weekend is just a tremendous outpouring of that enthusiasm and pride in the country, and I think it's laying a foundation for people to take another look in the decade ahead at what a great country and what a blessing we have living in it.
And you like your job overseeing all this diversity, huh?
It is the greatest privilege of my life to serve this president in this job.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary of the Interior, Donald Dell, for joining us on this celebratory day. Thank you very much, sir. Good to see you. And we'll be back with more, and there is more, in just a minute.
Time takes you beyond the news.
Time flies, and you are there. Time cries and lets you care. You understand the world we share.
When you read Time each week, you know more. You understand.
Throughout your world, throughout your land, time puts it all right in your hand. Read Time and understand. Come on, baby, try me. Oh, sweet sugar, try me. Just see what I can do. I know you love me too. Try me, honey, try me.
At Harris 3M, you get more than great copies. You get Harris 3M people, so your job runs smoothly. Why try anyone else?
Try me.
This is CNN, the world's most important network.
Liberty is the statue, and much more.
Liberty Week continues on Take Two. Today, the Navy's real Top Gun, Secretary John Lehman, talks about the Navy's role in the Liberty celebration. Join Dave Walker and Lois Hart for Take Two, today at noon Eastern.
Now, you too can get VIP treatment and big savings just by carrying the Players Club Go Card. You'll save money on rooms, on top-name entertainment, on food and beverages. And you'll never have to wait in long registration and show lines again. Look, you can stay at some of the finest resorts in the world's most exciting vacation cities. Hey, no strings attached to get the club's benefits. You listen to telly? Call Players Club today.
And we're back at Operation Sail on the birthday of the lady in the harbor who is looking at scenes such as these. Yet another large vessel going by. We see some of those who have just passed the reviewing stand where President and Mrs. Reagan are looking at ships of the past. And our expert with us here is Peter Stanford, who is the president of the National Maritime Historical Society. Mr. Stanford, what are we seeing now besides water being sprayed all over the harbor by a fireboat?
Well, a moment ago we had the Amerigo Vespucci, which is designed to look like a, she's Italian, of course, and she's designed to look like a 18th century man of war. Here right now we've gone back to a replica of a much earlier man of war, actually a converted merchantman, John Paul Jones's first command, the Providence, the sloop Providence. She's sailed all over the eastern United States by Seaport 76, a very gung-ho and wonderful outfit at Newport, Rhode Island. They're pro-Navy people, and they believe in the values of sail training, and they sail our wonderful boat.
And that gives you some concept of the expanse of the upper New York Harbor and the overall myriad glory of it all. What is this now we have in view?
This is the much disputed Esmeralda, the Chilean vessel, which actually the National Maritime Historical Society and Operation Sail very much wanted to see here, despite the political objections that were made because of her possible use by the Pinochet regime. Our point is that this is an occasion of freedom, and our greatest strength is openness. We want those young Chileans to be here and see how the world comes on an occasion like this, and perhaps carry a good message home. We wish the Russians had come. They, I guess for political reasons, decided against it.
But did you invite them? Did they get the proper invitations and notice?
Yes, they were invited, and it really is a feeling that I think we all share in this work with these ships, that it must be absolutely open, and whatever political differences there are, and they are grave, there has to be some forum where you can step above them. And in such forums, we think the West and freedom are ideas that win out. We think it's a good thing that all brands of political belief pretty well are represented here today.
She's a free and fair wind that blows all sails here today, regardless of the politics. How would you say, having seen about an eighth of it thus far, this compares to Opsail 76?
Well, it is certainly bigger. There are just more of these great wonder-evoking elephants, as we call them occasionally, gathered here, and the spectrum of nations and the seafaring heritage of each nation that's represented here really practically makes up a history of mankind's adventure by sea. It's just very international.
Is there a vessel someplace on the face of this earth that you know of that you wish were here?
Well, I think I wish the Russians were here. I think all the fuss that was raised with the Esmeralda, you could double that in spades for the Soviet regime, but I think it would have been good. I think it would have been good for history and for the occasion.
But she is not wont to come out of herself all the time and participate in events of this kind, with the exception of the occasional Olympics, which even now she doesn't participate in always.
Well, that's certainly true. I think openness is likely to damage some of the Russian institutions that can only strengthen ours, and I really feel that, and I think that we're not a political organization, but I noticed when some of my views on this were published, I usually get a lot of argument whenever I open my mouth, because we're a membership organization, and I hear it from everywhere. But I only heard one person object to that, and after a little discussion, that person decided she agreed.
One nice thing about these things is that they're not the end of anything. It's sort of an ongoing situation. You know, these vessels are not destroyed like mache when it's over. They go somewhere. They have a life of their own. If you saw them, you can envision them somewhere on some sunny sea someday, years hence.
Well, that is true, and they're not celebrating just the past. They are celebrating a continuity in things, and to a great extent, they're celebrating the future. This vessel that we see now, that is passing in front of their viewing stand, is a case in point, very much to what you were just saying, because I last saw her in 1973, and we don't have her on the screen yet, but she is in front of the viewing stand, and I last saw her in 1973 anyway. She's the Belém, with the unique black checkerboard. No, that's the Vespucci, I think. But the Belém will swim onto the screen in a moment, I'm sure. She, anyway, I saw her in Venice at Isola San Maggiore, and there was a watchman aboard, and she was a rusty wreck, you know. She was near the end of her days. She was getting on for 100 years old then. And I spoke to the watchman, and he said with great positiveness, he said, "This ship can sail again." And I said, "Boy, you have faith, don't you?" Well, he was right to have faith, because the French bought her back. She was one of their last great square riggers, and they found the money and the energy to refit her beautifully. And she will be in sail training work. And, of course, she is the major French entry in this very American-French show.
There's another ship, Mr. Stamper, that was, I think, rescued by a bunch of Texans for something, and there is the Belém of which you spoke. Yes, she is a beautiful vessel. Another one rescued for some $12,000 from the junk pile somewhere, and I think she's somewhere in this line of ships. Where is that one, and who is she?
Well, she's at the end of the line, and my wife, Norma, is aboard her. Yes, she's a vice president of the society, and my son, Tony, I think, is aboard. Well, I first ran into that ship in 1968 when Joan Throckmorton, this very attractive but rather nervous at that moment seeming girl, met me and said, "My husband, Peter Throckmorton, is in dreadful trouble with some ship in the Piraeus." This is 1968. And that was the Alyssa. And the trouble he was in was that he spotted her. She'd been converted to a motor ship then. And he spotted her for what she was, one of the last beautiful iron Scottish clippers built in Alexander Hall's yard, which is a famous yard, I don't need to tell you. And, well, it is. It's where some of the most beautiful and fast-traveling these ships came from. And in 1877, she was built. She's seeing the Statue of Liberty for the first time. She's been in New York before, but when she was in New York in 1884, the statue wasn't up, so these two will be saying hello to each other, the Alyssa and the statue. She ended up being restored by a group, a very hard-charging and wonderful group in Texas, the Galveston Historical Foundation. But her revival was a long, long process, obviously. I joined in it in 1968. Poor old Throcco, Peter Throckmorton, and Piraeus in Greece had started 7 years before that, trying to hang on to this lady's coattails. And our outfit, the National Maritime Historical Society, worked with Carl Kortum in San Francisco, a great ship saver, as we call these people. And finally, the Texans picked her up. She is really a gift to the nation.
Thank you, Peter. Let's get back aboard the Eagle, which is upstream now. John Holloman, can you hear? Can you read us?
Yes, Reed. We've changed our camera position to the very front tip of the Eagle, and we're talking with a third-class cadet here who's just on this beautiful, tall sailing ship for her first at-sea experience, Kim Newman. Kim, the thing that is most interesting to me about you is that you are a naturalized American citizen from South Korea originally. Tell me a little bit about your story. How did you get from South Korea to here, and how did you get aboard the Eagle?
Well, I got from Korea to the United States. I was adopted when I was about a year old, little under a year old, and came over to the States with my parents through Tokyo, and then through New York City. As for how I got on Eagle, I think it was basically kind of luck of the draw. Our class of 89, was going to be on this cruise for our third-class cruise. And I was one of the people that was lucky enough to get on this phase of the summer cruise to come into New York for the Tall Ships Parade.
What did you think when we passed by the Statue of Liberty? I saw a lot of people who seemed to be getting pretty emotional about that. How did you feel?
Very proud is the best way I can think of putting it. Kind of makes me feel glad to be an American citizen.
Yeah. Is it very special to somebody from South Korea originally to become an American, to become a Coast Guard cadet, and to participate in this 4th of July celebration?
I don't know if I can speak for everyone, but for myself, yes, it is. I think it's, I feel lucky to be an American citizen because of what I've gotten out of it, the opportunities I've gotten out of it. And as for being a cadet and being on board Eagle for this July 4th celebration, I think it's an excellent experience. It's something you'll definitely be able to tell your grandchildren about several years from now.
Yeah, that's the way I feel, too. Kim Newman, thank you very much for being with us today. John Holloman, CNN, live aboard the Eagle.
Thank you, John Holloman, and we'll be back with more of this Operation Sail on the birthday of the country and the lady.
Morning, boys.
Oh, hi.
Like to see how your cereals stack up the total?
Sure, come on.
To get the vitamins in one bowl of total, it takes 3 bowls of Special K.
Looks like you'll need some help, Will.
You'll have to eat 4 bowls of All Brand.
You're going to be pretty busy yourself, Pete.
And you, 12 bowls of shredded wheat.
Oh, Flo, Joe's going to need a little more milk.
Total has 100% of 9 vitamins and iron, a stack of nutrition in just 1 bowl.
Why, Total's always been our favorite.
This 4-year-old handful is about to go to work. That's why this week's People stars good Prince William. People celebrates People with a delightful report on the upcoming royal wedding and how Charles and Diana hope their son won't steal the limelight. Then Mitch Gaylord flips careers and People covers his first movie. People's managing editor gets an exclusive presidential interview, plus a special tribute to Liberty Weekend and much more. Week after week, People celebrates People. This week, Prince William reports for duty.
Superstation Profile, Chuck Tanner, skipper of America's team, the Atlanta Braves.
We're going to make it happen. Bobby Cox and Chuck Tanner. We can't get a hit, and we can't strike anybody out, but we sure as heck can get the personnel to make it work, and we're going to make it happen.
This team is your team, America's team. Braves versus Expos, 7:35 Eastern tonight.
And so in the New York harbor comes yet another Goliath of the past sailing into today. And I'll have to ask somebody to identify that. Peter Stanford, what is yon ship?
What's on the screen now? No, it isn't. It's a bark. It just isn't quite possible to tell. Opposite the reviewing stand here, it's easy to see what we have, and what we have is a beautiful, great Canadian schooner.
I'll tell you what we did. I think we pulled in a ringer on you. We went far south of here, south of the Verrazano Bridge, as we can see now. And perhaps we're going to have to identify her a little bit later. But it's pretty, whoever she is, isn't it?
Yes, it's just wonderful having this nice southwesterly breeze. Means they can hang out all the washing, as sailors say, and they're really sailing.
In other words, with this freshening wind that's making our life a little more hectic up here on Governor's Island, it's making a sailor's life a lot more fun. I see a lot of canvas is being dropped out there now.
Yes, that's certainly true. And here's that magnificent Canadian schooner, the Blue Nose. It's not the original Blue Nose that won the fishermen's races off Gloucester in the 1930s. It's a replica built after what I call the Great War, you know, the World War II, to carry on the traditions of Nova Scotia seafaring and Canadian seafaring. And she's a wonderful expression of that spirit for the whole Canadian nation. And it's always a great thrill to see her, because you don't meet a great, big, beautiful schooner like that every day. She's a real, the ultimate development of the fishing schooner type.
You don't meet a great, big, beautiful day like this aboard every schooner either, do you? You know, we couldn't have had better weather. Now and again, the wind comes up. It freshens, I suppose you seafarers say. And then it dies again. And just about the time a captain orders a lot of sails dropped from some of those top riggings and railings, all of a sudden he finds there's no wind to fill them. Then suddenly there is. All of these vessels, however, do have motor power, and they're running on auxiliary power anyway up in tight quarters like this, aren't they, sir?
Yes, they've got to have it for safety reasons and control. And particularly these big square riggers, they're ideally suited to be out in mid-ocean or battling their way around Cape Horn, but they're really at risk a little bit here in harbor. They don't maneuver that quickly at all. So it's a matter of prudence and common sense. They have engines, but it's always a great moment when they clear the headlands and put out to sea, and that's the end of the engine, and then they go just on their ability to pull the strings and make the canvas work.
Let me ask you the relationship between a man of sail and one of the inboard engine men. There is a certain dichotomous relationship there. Could you explain it without getting us thrown off the air?
Well, there is that dichotomy, but I think all who are interested in the sea and its learning have a greater common bond than may divide them according to the motive power of the vessels. There is something, I think, even as we call them stinkpot sailors would agree, that there is something very special about vessels that navigate just on the wind that blows over the face of the oceans, and your skill and your resolution and your ability to catch that wind in canvas. And the only power that is used at sea is the power of your hands. And when you think of the size of these ships and the distance that they cross, and the only power that's applied to make it all work is what you've got in your own hands, you have to learn to work together. And it's a very proud, and as everybody's been remarking today, a very much alive tradition. It has something to say to Americans and all kinds of people from all nations today. That's why the last few ships ago we were talking about 2 ships in a row that have been recovered from an impossible situation. They were slated for the junkyard, and an enormous effort they were saved and brought into sail because they're needed today. They're needed, many of us feel, for our tomorrows. That's the feeling those people that you see now, those sailors on those boats. If you meet them in the streets of New York tonight, you'll find they're full to the brim of that kind of feeling to it.
Well, there should be also extra rations of something for every man who did his duty today, I believe. We have, you speak of power in a man's hands, who can work the winches and work the sails and use the wind. It's almost an allegory that you speak of the power that lies in that lady's hand held aloft. That, too, an ineffable power, but a certain one which has moved hearts and minds and nations, in fact, this one.
I often wonder what the working people that sailed these ships in 1886 when she was brand new on the scene, what they must have felt. They were a pretty abused lot. They weren't victims. They chose the life, and they were strong people full of initiative. It takes that to sail a ship. But for the first time, here's a world-famous monument that's really speaking of and to ordinary people. As Emma Lazarus's poem had it, the huddled and the oppressed. Well, anyway, the ordinary people that aren't kings or emperors and haven't won any battles except life's battle that they're engaged in. And it must have been a awfully good thing, as it still certainly is today. But then it was new, that idea. It must have been great for those guys. So that's our monument, you know?
Well, she is our monument, and she certainly is receiving the proper obeisance of the common man. All of the waterborne men are out there today. You see them in yachts that cost a lot of money, and you see some people in motorized skiffs and motorized inflatables that are bouncing their way around there. It's a sort of a sea today in this bay that you can get by with almost anything. An inner tube, I think, would do, because it has been that calm. It's been that salubrious a port for the lady and for the ships. We're coming up now. I don't know when we'll be able to catch sight of her. I think we've got her now. There she is. Can you tell us, Peter, exactly what that is? She's just on down the way from us here.
That's the Esmeralda. She's one of the biggest ships in this parade of sail, and she is, of course, the Chilean ship, which there has been argument about her participation, but I think I hope the arguments are settled, and I hope we've kind of won them with our point of view that really the maximum exposure to freedom is the strongest thing that the free countries have going for us, and I think particularly today that's the thing we feel about Lady Liberty, that she's a very convincing lady, and it's a very good thing to get all peoples here to celebrate her birthday, and all of us. None of us is so pure that we can't learn from her, and I hope that now that lesson, maybe a very important one, has been learned, digested, and even enjoyed. Certainly, I think the young Chileans aboard that vessel are very glad to be here today.
Oh, look at that. How many yards of canvas must lie above some of those big ships? It must be enough to... somebody figured it out as to how many dresses you could make if the canvas were all convertible into it. And it is a figure that I think will be lost in trivia here. But certainly there's yards and yards of material that weighs tons and tons, doesn't it?
There is indeed, and it generates thousands and thousands of horsepower. And it's all done with just flexible canvas, steel rigging, wire, and ropes. And again, on the other end of these ropes, there's probably 20 miles. There's a statistic that anybody who's had to deal with those bits of rigging can remember rather easily. There's probably 20 miles of running rigging, it's called. That's the rigging you haul on with your hands aboard a ship like the Esmeralda. And it all has to be tweaked and pulled and hauled all the time. And they call the work that's done aboard these ships sail training. Well, one thing you really learn, especially in our age where we don't do so much work with our muscles most of the time, most of us, is that when you got 16 or 20 men on the line, the first time you try to haul it, you can't move it. You really have to learn how to heave together. And after a while, you get to learn that anything's possible. You can swing through the rigging like a monkey. You can haul on those heavy lines. You can harness those thousands of horsepower that fill the canvas and drive these ships.
Right. That's the thinking, I suppose, that the sailor that goes down to the sea and must have. What is before the mast? Is that where the sailor is, as opposed to the crew, the captain and his officers?
Well, let us hope that it's as distinct from the crew and not opposed to the crew, because that's trouble on any ship. But before the mast used to mean in front of the forwardmost mast, and that's the wettest, dirtiest, most uncomfortable part of the ship. That's where the seas break aboard, and of course that's where the sailors slept. But toward the end of the last century, of just about 100 years ago, that changed, and they put the sailors in deck houses on the decks.
Well, thank you, Peter Stanford. We've enjoyed your expertise as to the sailing vessel, their operation, their identification, and some of the thoughts that also accompany them on this fair wind up here. Peter Stanford, the president of the National Maritime Historical Society, our thanks to you again. As this Operation Sail Day continues to make its way across the bay, and the First Lady of the harbor, the only woman in our dreams today, continues to watch this passing parade from out of the century past into her own life, which now is beginning its 200th year. The Lady of the harbor lifts her lamp aloft and wishes all a very fair day for sailing, as she has had indeed a wonderful, wonderful morning and a wonderful birthday. So happy birthday to the lady on 100 of them, and happy birthday to the country on 210 wonderful, glorious years. And now we'll be going shortly to Take Two.
27 years old, and his company was just purchased for $10 million. 34, and she was just made vice president of a well-known bank. 45, and sailing the Pacific for a year. You may wonder how these people do it, but they're just like you and me, sharing the same desire for success. And while there's no one formula for success, there is one magazine that contains information leading you there. Information for the one-man operation to the multi-million-dollar corporation, which in this case happens to be run by this 43-year-old. Fortune cuts through the clutter of news with articles helping you improve your portfolio, your career, your lifestyle, your future. And whether you're working your way to the top or are already there, Fortune keeps you ahead with special issues like the Investor's Guide, an insider's report which reveals the investment strategies and top picks of some of the sharpest minds on Wall Street. That's information you can profit from, especially if you make your own investment decisions. And it's yours if you subscribe to Fortune. Also as a bonus is this free Fortune Desk Director. Solid, sleek, totally functional, with clock, calculator, and memo pad, which happens to be used by this 47-year-old who runs one of America's most successful medical companies. So call now, 1-800-525-1400, and get 17 issues of Fortune at a 50% savings off the cover price, payable in 3 installments of just $9.77 each. That's what this 28-year-old international financier would call a great business deal. Also with your paid subscription is this free Fortune Desk Director, the Investor's Guide, the Fortune 500 issues, plus something even highly successful people can't turn away from, a 50% savings. So call 1-800-525-1400.
What's that number?
1-800-525-1400.
Today's the day on Take Two, live from Governor's Island. Dave Walker and Lois Hart will have continuing coverage of Operation Sail's 1986 Parade of Sail, with over 250 tall ships from around the world. Also, Liberty Foundation Chairman Lee Iacocca shares what liberty means to him. The 4th of July Liberty Day celebration, just ahead on Take Two.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Gregory with your latest CNN weather update. I hope this 4th is going great for you so far, and I hope it ends up great, too. Weather-wise, it looks like so far we've got a pretty nice day of weather to talk about from the northeast down into the southeast. Just a few thunderstorms. I think they're going to cloud up the day in South Florida, unfortunately. We're looking at temperatures pretty much again in the 80s there, 90s in the midsection of the nation, hundreds in the southwest with 80s for the California coast. It's cool, though, in the northwest. If you're planning the barbecue, the coals may actually help you heat things up because we have had some snow in the forecast across the higher elevations of Idaho and Wyoming. It's very thundery in the northern parts of the Plain States, and looks like those fireworks displays from Mother Nature will continue on through the afternoon. Watch out for severe weather. More weather coming up throughout the day, but right now let's check your weather if you live in these cities around the nation.
Liberty is the statue, and much more.
CNN's Liberty coverage continues with Nancy Reagan officially opening the Statue of Liberty, and go live to New York Harbor for the Parade of Ships. Celebrate Liberty tomorrow, live on CNN. The Goodwill Games, a competition for peace, begins. Look for the opening highlights on Goodwill 86, Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on CNN.
This is CNN, a service of Turner Broadcasting System.
Live, this is Take Two with Dave Walker and Lois Hart.
And hello, everybody. We are live once again from New York. We're sitting smack dab in the middle of New York Harbor, where, as you can see, the Liberty celebration is underway. Happy July 4th to you. I'm Dave Walker.
July I have ever had in my life. There we go.
There we go.
It's a little less windy than it was yesterday, so we are up on our vantage point looking out on New York Harbor, although the wind seems to be picking up a little bit more. It's still a gorgeous, gorgeous day. We're having a great time.
You've been watching, and I'm sure you know that Operation Sail is underway. The International Naval Review is underway. There's fireworks going off. There's about 40,000 boats in the harbor. It is a joy, and the weather is a joy here as well, and I guess it kind of speaks for the festive occasion here. Even the New Yorkers are having a good time. Nobody's in a jostled mood or seems upset about anything. We're going to have quite a bit for you coming up as we have throughout the morning here, if you've been watching. Peter Stanford is the president of the National Maritime Historical Society. He's going to help us out and identify all the various ships that have been passing by.
And just ahead, David Wolfer, he, of course, is chairman and executive producer of the Liberty Weekend.
And join us, too, because Lee Iacocca will be stopping by to tell us about the role he played in this festive occasion and whether or not he's going to be running for president. A lot to talk about then.
And we're hoping for a live shot from the USS Kennedy, the largest aircraft carrier in the world, where we hope to be talking with the Secretary of the Navy, John Lehman. That's a little later on Take Two.
I don't know if it's the largest in the world, but it's certainly the largest ship here, Lois. Right now, let's check out the latest in news. Back to Atlanta.
Okay, Dave and Lois, and as you know, and as we've been seeing, the big birthday party took sail today. Ships from around the world paid tribute to the Statue of Liberty on its centennial. President and Mrs. Reagan boarded the battleship USS Iowa this morning to review warships from more than a dozen nations. Mr. Reagan described the scene as absolutely brilliant. Majestic describes what came later, the parade of tall ships up the Hudson. It was a fitting tribute, said the president, because tall ships, he said, embody the concept of freedom. Farm Aid 2 is about 5 hours old, but most of the benefit concert is still ahead. About 40,000 people have gathered in Manor, Texas, to hear 18 hours of music by 75 performers. Concert organizer Willie Nelson hopes to raise more money for the nation's farmers. The first Farm Aid concert raised $9 million. Today's concert will feature a wide range of music, from hard-rocking Steppenwolf to country music's Waylon Jennings. There will be a Catholic funeral mass for singer Rudy Vallee, who died in his Los Angeles home last night at the age of 84. Vallee had suffered a slight stroke after being hospitalized for throat cancer in February. But his wife says he'd had a good day yesterday and was watching the Liberty celebration on TV when he died quietly. Vallee will long be remembered for his 1930s radio show, The Fleischman Hour, and for his Broadway role in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Kraft is recalling some ice cream bars. Officials say a deadly bacteria has been found in some of the Polar bars. The Richmond, Virginia plant that makes the product is being shut down temporarily. Polar bars being recalled have the code number 51-6426. They were mainly distributed in the eastern U.S. Kraft says no illness has been linked to the ice cream, but Kraft says if you have any of the suspect Polar bars, get rid of them. The Ford Motor Company has announced separate recalls of some of its cars and its cargo trucks. About 271,000 cars made in 1985 and 86 are being called back because their manual transmissions can slip into neutral during cold weather. Those cars are the Ford Escort, EXP and Tempo, and the Mercury Lynx and Topaz. The other recall involves about 300 cargo trucks. Ford says the trucks with 6.6 diesel engines may have faulty valve springs. That's a quick look at some of the news on this 4th of July. Let's go back to the party, New York Harbor, Dave and Lois, and Take Two.
Okay, Rick, and fantastic as our vantage point is here on Governor's Island, we have others, and Dave Monsees is standing by with his viewpoint over at Stevens Point, I think it's called. Dave?
Yeah, one thing occurred to us just a few moments ago, as a matter of fact, Lois, that if any of us have ever complained about it taking a little bit too long to drive to work, or that hour that you have to spend sitting in an airplane to travel 600 miles, well, consider just for a moment that for the approximately, 20 or so miles, the route of this tall ship parade, it will take the tall ships the better part of 6 hours to be able to make that round trip. So not very, very hard to imagine what travel back in those days when the tall ships ruled the seas must have been like. We also were taking a look through some of the material about the backgrounds of the various tall ships. And one thing also struck us as kind of interesting. Virtually every one of the tall ships are described as either being merchant mariner training vessels or naval training vessels. But one just stood out to us. A ship from the nation of Mexico. They didn't say she was a naval ship, didn't say that she was a training ship. I think it's fitting that they called it from the Armada of Mexico. I think that's rather nice, don't you? Right now, behind me and off to the side there out in the middle of the Hudson River is the 5th ship in the parade. That is a French flagship called the Belém, 190 feet and a few inches long. And she, like the rest of the ships in the parade, is making her way now up north from our position to the George Washington Bridge, which is maybe 5 or 6 more miles north from where we are, to then turn around and start heading back south again. This gets to be kind of tricky, particularly this afternoon as the winds are changing, and we've noticed them changing quite drastically. here on this rooftop on the Jersey side of the Hudson River. And that is that to be able to stay on schedule, they have to maintain 7 knots. Anything more or less than that, and it messes the schedule up something terribly. And what they're doing, too, is jockeying a combination of circumstances here. What they're doing is trying to work out a combination of tides and timing and speed of the vessel and hour of the day in hopes that everything ends up late this afternoon by about, 5 o'clock or so Eastern Time, with this part of the parade concluded, everyone having a chance to grab a bite of July 4th early evening dinner and then settle in for the fireworks tonight. This is Dave Monsees, CNN live in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Thanks, Dave. And the events surrounding, of course, the big Liberty celebration throughout the weekend here in New York is Liberty Weekend Chairman and Executive Producer David Wolpert. Now, Mr. Wolpert brought some impressive credentials to this big event, being responsible for the opening and closing ceremonies of the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles, and also the producer of such miniseries as Roots and the Thornbirds. And David, welcome to Take Two. How's it going so far? Any major glitches going off as planned?
Everything is going off exactly as planned. It looks good. We had just a little wind last night, but I'm glad we didn't have rain, and so far to this moment, it's exactly as we laid it out.
I want to know how you ordered up this beautiful weather.
Well, that's the only thing I couldn't control, so somebody up there helped us.
Well, there was some talk, earlier in the week about what would you do if you had some bad weather and worries about it might rain. Was that a serious concern to you? Would you have just done the show in the rain if necessary?
Only if it just was drizzle. If it had really poured, we would be doing it tonight at 9:30 instead. We had rearranged it all for that, but fortunately we didn't have to do it, and everything looks like it's going to be beautiful for the rest of the week.
Sure does.
Mr. Wolper, there was, I guess, some criticism of your plans for this weekend before the event, and you told everybody, just wait until you see it and then let the reviews come in. Have you been reading any reviews? What are the reviews?
Well, the reviews so far have been quite good. I was complaining that people were reviewing, and I've done 600 films in my life in 37 years, and I've gotten a lot of reviews. I never mind when I get a review after I do something, but before I do something, there's really nothing you can do about it. So far today, and I was just down in the president's box for the opening of Operation Sail. He came up to me and he said it was terrific, David. Everything I would hope that it'd be.
After watching the program last night on television, along with millions of other people, I guess am curious about why you chose certain performers.
Well, each performer I felt had a task to do. Gregory, I thought I chose distinguished performers, people who could read lines well, read important words. We wanted to talk about the statue a little bit. I thought Gregory Peck is the voice that we could use about that. We wanted to introduce Mikhail Baryshnikov, and he's a fan of Helen Hayes, and she's a fan of his, so I thought Helen Hayes would be the perfect person. So each entertainer, each performer, I use because they're good narrators. Some performers are terrific actors, but can't talk and narrate, so I try to choose the proper narrators for the proper event.
What has been the biggest problem for you as we'll continue to watch a lot of the festivities and the op sale continuing on here? But had you run into any major problems unforeseen?
No, and when you take on an event like this, you have to say to yourself before you start the event, there's going to be a lot of problems. So when a problem comes up, you say, see, I knew it was going to happen. So we've had all our problems. And actually, the toughest problem we had was insurance for the fireworks up to the last minute. But
that was literally an 11th hour deal, wasn't it?
That was an 11th hour deal. As you know, everybody in this country is having a problem with insurance today, and it took us right to the last moment to get our policy. Everything else was insured except the fireworks, but we got that the day before yesterday, all set, so everything's ready to go.
We got the fireworks in the background here once again.
You know, there have been some lagging ticket sales, I understand. There are lots of events yet to go on the weekend. They go all through the weekend in New Jersey, down in Manhattan. Are the concerts that you've organized sold out yet, or are there still some seats available for you?
Well, two of the concerts. The one tonight, the Americana concert with the Boston Pops Orchestra and the Parade of Stars, that's a free concert, so they're expecting 20,000 people for that. And the other concert, the one on Saturday, is the New York Philharmonic Orchestra at Zubin Mehta and some of the great classical stars. That's also free, and there's 500,000 people expected for that. The closing ceremony is at Giant Stadium, where we have a cast of 15,000 and a whole parade of stars. There are still tickets available for that. Our fireworks tickets are sold out, and the tickets for Operation Sail today were sold out, and our sports arena show is sold out. So we have one event that is not sold out yet, and that's the closing ceremony 3-hour event in Giant Stadium, and I recommend people go to it. It's going to be very similar to my opening ceremonies event in Los Angeles, where we have just thousands of people. And the reason I put on the closing ceremonies is that there were so many people around the United States wanted to participate in Liberty Weekend that we couldn't find an event for them, so we invented one. So we have 500 kids from around the United States, an all-American marching band. We have 1,000 high school girls, drill team girls from around the United States. We have 300 square dancers, people who love to square dance, part of the thing. We have the Liberty dances. We have 1,000 tap dancers, all amateur tap dancers who wanted to participate. And we have stars from Kenny Rogers to Willie Nelson to Patti LaBelle and the Pointers. So it's going to be a big, rousing show.
Your typical sort of understated David Walper production.
No, well, it's not. I know. I've been criticized for that, but as you see, I didn't have Elvis Presley running on at the ceremonies last night. All the press has been saying, well, 200 Elvis Presley is not right for the unveiling of the Statue of Liberty. Obviously, they were misinformed. I didn't see 200 Elvis Presley at the unveiling of the Statue of Liberty.
And the president himself has been quite pleased.
The president was very pleased, and I think it's very moving. As I was looking at this torch, the statue on light, and as we turned around, I was a stage there, and I wanted to see what he looked like. I looked over, his eyes were kind of watery, and I looked at him, and he gave me a wink, and I said, that means he likes it.
I think that's been the reaction to most people here. You kind of get that little goosebump feel to it all.
My reaction is, how does he does it? How many people do you have on your staff, for example?
Well, we have fortunately, I was able to pull together the best that this country has to offer in production in every area, in lights. The statue, by the way, the statue would not look like that on Monday. We lit that statue ourselves at a cost of about $400,000 to light the statue that way, plus a backup system for $100,000 so that in case the president pushed the button and the statue didn't light, it would light. But we have the greatest people in this country working for me right now, and we have terrific talent in this country. And actually, all the 50 states have somebody working on this show right now.
You know, it would show what a nice guy you really are, and in spite of what some members of the press have said about David Walper. You came on the island here. There's about 300 Coast Guard families residing here normally, and now there's been an invasion by the mass media, David Walper Productions. You're doing a nice little bit of thing for a couple of the families, sending them on down to Disney World.
Well, we've done a lot of things. We've sent a lot of the families down to Disney World on a vacation right by the families that we were by their house where they were living. We'd be disturbing them every night, so we thought we'd send them on a vacation as a gift. We've also invited all of them, all 2,500, to the closing ceremonies as our guests, and of course on the dress rehearsal for the show, we invited the entire Coast Guard unit. So they've had a good time. They've been nice to us, and I hope we've been nice to them.
David Wolper, thank you very much for being with us on Take Two. I know you've got a lot of work still to do for this weekend, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
And your next event, this is your last big event.
Yes, I'm passing the torch on to a younger generation to do these mega events. I think I've had it now. I'm going to go back to the simple life of making films.
Miniseries. Nice to see you. David Walper, thanks for being with us here. When we continue with more of Take Two, we'll be looking into the immigration issue and why some immigrants of this country do not feel liberty and justice on this very special day.
CNN's coverage of Liberty Celebration is brought to you by Metropolitan Life and affiliated companies.
Here's the world-famous Metropolitan Life representative, champion of security for over 43 million people. Reliable source not only of life insurance, but also of auto and homeowners insurance. Trustworthy, conscientious, caring, responsive, experienced, financially shrewd, perspicacious, smart, a true friend in time of trouble. Your Metropolitan representative. Get met. It pays.
The tension of dealing with city traffic can cause quite a headache. Ask Linda Ferguson.
A painful headache that's in the shoulders and the neck. I need something strong.
What she took was extra-strength Tylenol caplets. Last year, hospitals dispensed Tylenol 10 times more than the next 4 brands combined. Let's see how Tylenol worked.
I feel great. I don't know where the headache is. It's not here. I feel very, very good.
If Tylenol worked for Linda Ferguson, and it's the pain reliever hospitals use most, shouldn't you use Tylenol too?
You can't use a step ladder to get off the roof, a straight ladder to change a light bulb, and neither is good for painting ceilings. So here's Super Step. It's every ladder you'll ever need and more. It's a tough 12.5-foot straight ladder that you can bend and lock into a 6-foot freestanding step ladder, or an adjustable scaffold that's strong enough for 2. But there's more. Fold and lock this way and you have a workbench or table. Fold and lock again and it's a pair of sawhorses. Can't reach the window without breaking down plants? Use Super Step this way, and you won't crush a leaf. You can even paper that tricky stairwell safely and easily. Each of these Loctite hinges withstands 10,000 pounds of pressure. Ever see a ladder bend like this before? Don't buy all these ladders, scaffolds, and more. You'll spend over $500. One Super Step does all these jobs. And when you're done, just fold it up and store it away. Super Step comes with this incredible 10-year limited warranty and a simple 3-part payment plan. Don't send any money. Just call 1-800-453-6609. We'll bill your credit card 3 payments of $37 each. And we won't bill the last payment till you've tried Super Step for 30 days. Yes, you get a full 30-day home trial before the last payment is billed. The total price is just $99 plus $12 shipping and handling. Only the original Super Step has a 10-year warranty. So call 1-800-453-6609 now.
And
Judging,
as we return here, we continue to look at the beautiful July 4th celebration on this, a celebration of liberty, the 100th birthday party for the Statue of Liberty. And the bay here in New York is full. We've got tall ships, we've got...
small ships, we have everything.
Well, 270 of the tall ships and their escorts, and of course about some 33 naval warships representing some 14 nations around the world.
We even have a reporter on the Eagle, I'm told, and we hope to get a report for you from him as soon as possible. Judging from recent public opinion surveys, most Americans aren't thrilled with the idea of allowing more people to immigrate to the United States, particularly if they are of Latin or Oriental descent.
But those who are looking for a better way of life, exchanging liberty for communism, there is a crack in the golden door these days. Dale Schwartz is president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. He has also represented the 5,000 Cuban Mariel refugees and is now efforting to seek the release of some 1,800 Cubans that are still being held in the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. Welcome to the program today, Dale. These 1,800 that are still being held in the Atlanta Penitentiary, a lot of people say, well, they should be kept there. They're dangerous. These people have felony records as long as you're armed. Why should we release them?
Well, some of the people that are in the Atlanta Penitentiary, Dave, have very serious records, and nobody has ever genuinely argued that they should be released if they might be a danger to society or to themselves. But there have been some 3,000 people nearly who have been released from the penitentiary who we've determined would not be dangerous or who are there as a case of mistaken identity. There's still several hundred people that everyone would agree should be released from that penitentiary, and we're just going to have to keep fighting until the people who ought to be released get out of that place.
Well, the government would say that they've released all those that should be released.
Well, they might say that, but each month they release 40 to 60 more people. For a period of time, those releases stop.
What is the government's interest in detaining these people if they're not
Well, the government maintains
dangerous?
that it's a deterrent effect. They feel that if we lock people up who come to the United States who are seeking asylum, as we've done with certain groups of people from Latin America, Salvadorans, Nicaraguans, etc., that it will deter other people from coming to this country. But the statistics don't bear that out. People who are fleeing persecution will continue to come to the United States, and if the words written on that statute out there mean anything, we ought to give them the opportunity to come here and apply for political asylum and not be arrested.
But of those, can we really, the United States, with the economic problems we have encountered over the past years, can we afford to allow anybody into the country? Does that really still hold true?
Well, we can't have an open-door immigration policy as we had for most of our history in the United States, because I think that a large percentage of the world would want to come and live in this great country. But on the other hand, President Reagan relit that torch last night, and I don't want to see anybody turn it off as far as immigrants are concerned. Everybody ought to have a fair opportunity to come to America if they can prove they're worthy of entering this country, or they have family ties here, can contribute to our society, or if they're refugees that we ought to take into our land to save from persecution.
Is there discrimination as to who gets let in and who doesn't?
Well, I wouldn't call it discrimination, but there are political decisions that are made. If you come from a certain country, you have a better chance of getting political asylum than if you come from another country.
Well, for example?
Well, If you're from Nicaragua, you have about a 50% chance of achieving asylum because we support a certain regime in that country. But if you're from Salvador, you have maybe a 5% chance because we don't support that regime.
And the administration argues that the people from El Salvador are here just because of the economy and they want to improve their life in that respect, and they aren't fleeing a communist tyranny.
Well, they do argue that, but the people who have fled a war zone in that country fear the same kind of thing that their neighbors in Nicaragua feared when they came to the United States. A man trying to protect his wife and his children and his family is going to want to come here because of the conditions back in his home country without regard to the politics of it.
What about racial quotas? Does that exist?
No, I don't think that we have racial discrimination in any way. I would like to continue to believe that this country wouldn't do that sort of thing.
What about the Haitians?
Well, it was argued in the Haitian cases that the government was discriminating against Haitians either because they were Haitian or because they were black. The government vehemently denied that. There were a series of findings in courts that were overturned. I don't think that Washington and our administration would do that sort of thing. There's always the possibility that lower-level officials have some sort of prejudice when they make those decisions.
You know, I saw a rather chilling account in the New York newspaper the other day about some aliens, illegal aliens, who were arrested in what they call a sweatshop, for lack of a better term. They were immediately flown down to an INS prison system in Louisiana. They do not have the right to see their attorney. They are being held, and they will not have a right to see an attorney except from that certain facility in Louisiana. Is the justice for immigrants, whether they're legal or illegal, a different system here?
Dave, you may not believe this, but I was in Oakdale when those people arrived. We were conducting a training session for lawyers from that part of the country to teach them how to do deportation and exclusion cases when that bus came in from New York with some 35 Salvadorans that had been arrested. The owner of that company told the press in New York that he had called immigration and said, "I'll be right down to put up bonds for those people. Don't send them away anyplace." They said, okay, and a few minutes later, these people were boarded on a bus, shipped to Louisiana, and I understand they've been shipped back now to New York.
So what is their fate? What's going to happen to those 400?
Somebody will put up bond for them. They will get out. They will have deportation hearings, and if they're found deportable, they're going to be made to leave this country. If they apply for political asylum and they're entitled to it, then they'll be granted political asylum.
Dale Schwartz, thank you for joining us today on Take Two.
I guess we should also point out you worked with Ted Turner on this entire effort we're seeing today.
I'm very proud of that fact, and I thank CNN for lending us Ted. Ted and I served as co-chairs for the Southeastern United States for the Statue of Liberty Ellis Island Foundation. We raised some $30 million in our part of the country as part of the total effort, and I was proud to have been part of that, and I'd like to thank Ted for his effort in that regard.
It's officially done. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Happy July 4th as well.
And we'll be back with a look at the weather right after this.
If you're really within the law, there is justice for everybody.
Women have no time for irregularity, yet women are constipated 3 times more often than men. That's why there's Correct-All laxative. Its gentle overnight action helps you feel like yourself again. Correct-All, the gentle laxative so many women prefer.
When night leg cramps strike, get help from Dr. Scholl's with Legatrin. Unlike aspirin, it goes directly to the source of pain, relaxes knotted muscles, relieves cramps. Legatrin says goodnight to night leg cramps.
The thousands of professionals at Ernst & Winnie salute Lady Liberty, but more than the statue itself, we salute the results of liberty, being able to pursue your dreams and achieve them, regardless of who you are or where you're from. Being able to travel as far as your talent can take you every day of your life. Achievement, a result of liberty, a result to celebrate.
The people who watch over this country watch CNN.
Must plant at Beirut. We must plant at Beirut. No alternative. Frankly, I'm kneeling in a crouched position on my hotel balcony. If it weren't so horrible, it would be beautiful.
45 seconds after liftoff, a huge fireball in the sky.
There's a major story developing in Washington at this hour.
From the White House to your house. CNN, the leader in live news coverage.
Now back to Take Two on CNN.
Millions of Americans are celebrating the 4th of July today, right along with us, watching television, watching this extravagant display of ships and boats from all over the world. And I can tell you, Flip, that it's windy in New York City. What's it like everywhere else?
Yeah, it's very windy in New York City. Did you guys get to stay up late enough to see the festivities last night?
Yes, we did.
Saw how cold everybody was. Record-setting cold temperatures. New York, Philadelphia.
How cold was it?
I can't tell you. I think low 40s. I think it got down to the low 40s in the New York City area, and then you add in that 50-mile-an-hour wind and wind chills, dropping it down, making it feel a whole lot colder than that. You can see that there is still some cloudiness north of the New York City area. The wind, believe it or not, Dave and Lois, is dying down a little bit. We have rain to talk about today, unfortunately, right up here in the Great Lakes area. Much of the nation is clear, however. I mean, really, all things considered, you couldn't ask for a much nicer day. We don't have much rain yet down here in Texas, Louisiana. We thought we would. We still have a few showers in Florida, too, and a bit of rain in the west. This is the area of the country that we pretty much knew was going to see rainfall today. Let's take a look at our forecast weather map. You can see the scattered showers that are expected throughout a portion of the west, but then most of the rest of the nation will be clear, save for the bit of rain that'll cover the Great Lakes area. And that's the latest look at the weather around the nation. Take two will continue right after this.
Can you see okay?
Yeah. Peanuts! Get your fresh roasted peanuts!
2. Want some peanuts?
Yeah.
Remember fresh roasted peanuts? One whiff, and you knew how good they taste.
They're still warm.
If you think that fresh taste is a thing of the past, you should try Planters' new improved dry roasted peanuts. They're so fresh, so flavorful. They taste like they're fresh from the roaster.
Fresh roasted peanuts!
Planters, the peanuts with fresh roasted taste.
You can't get much closer to the game than this, unless you're reading this. The Sporting News delivers more baseball coverage than your local paper and all the other sports weeklies and monthlies combined, plus everything you need to know about football, basketball, hockey, and boxing. So why not get the Sporting News and get in the game? Here's how.
You'll get 36 issues of the Sporting News and 2 preview issues for 3 payments of $5.99. Call toll-free 1-800-257-1257. That's 1-800-257-1257.
This is CNN, the world's most important network.
That's the only live half-hour TV program devoted entirely to showbiz. It's Showbiz Today, telling you about the latest movies.
And what's on TV, broadcast, cable, and home video.
The latest in theater.
And from the world of music.
I'm Liz Wickersham.
And I'm Lee Leonard. All that and more each weekday on Showbiz Today.
Your personal invitation to Princess Margaret's Island Retreat or Malcolm Forbes' French Chateau may come once in a lifetime or once a month as Architectural Digest gives you entry to the world's most celebrated homes, gardens, and decorator showrooms. Get 12 issues of Architectural Digest for just $29.95. That's $24 off the newsstand price.
Call 1-800-257-1257. That's 1-800-257-1257.
As you can hear, the fireworks continue to go off. The celebrating continues, and folks, we're right in the middle of it. The fantastic celebration going on here for the 100th birthday of the lady.
And we've still got lots of tall ships to show you as they go by, and all kinds of other boats. So we'll be keeping you posted on the parade as it goes by.
Coming up, we hope in this half hour, we hope to be talking with Lee Iacocca. Of course, you know, he played a very important role in all of this, and we'll talk about those rumors that he may be playing a role in the White House someday, he'd like anyway.
And we'll be talking to the Secretary of the Navy, John Lehman, perhaps from on board the Kennedy.
Right now, the latest news headlines. Here's Rick Moore in Atlanta, joining us once again. Rick?
Well, Dave, President Reagan set the tone for today's celebration. The president says, today we cut loose. It's America's birthday. The big show, of course, is in New York, where we've been taking you all day. There, it's not only a celebration of the 4th, but a celebration of the Statue of Liberty's Centennial. And the statue is being honored by a parade of majestic tall ships and mighty modern warships. President Reagan on hand for the event called it as colorful as fireworks, as majestic as Lady Liberty herself. Tonight, what is being billed as history's largest fireworks show will bathe the statue in a wash of color and light. Well, it hasn't happened in 4 years. Syrian soldiers are once again manning checkpoints in Beirut. They haven't been seen doing this since the Israeli invasion of Lebanon. They're back today as part of a plan to stop factional fighting between rival Muslim militias in the western half of the city. In Chile, a 2-day protest strike has ended after a series of government crackdowns. Tens of thousands are back at work after protests that halted most urban transportation and shipping. 6 died during the strike, including 3 people who were reportedly shot last night by police and army patrols. Chile's president referred to the strike as an attempted revolution through anarchy. Critics say police and army patrols caused most of the violence. In Utah's southern forest area, 2 fires, which blackened almost 12,000 acres, are under control now, and a third, much smaller fire is contained. The largest blaze began in the Pine Valley Mountains June 19th at an unattended campfire. Officials estimate it cost more than $1 million to bring the flames under control. The Pine Valley fire charred about 8,500 acres. Let's go back to the celebration as Take 2 continues. And Dave and Lois, we'd all like to be right there with you.
Thanks, Rick. In medical news today, one 65-year-old can be a lot more active than another. Some run marathons, others are couch potatoes. The differences can now be defined. CNN medical correspondent Gary Schweitzer reports from Lawrence, Kansas.
She is almost 87, yet she apologizes she can't quite do the 18 laps of swimming she once did. Mervyn Anderson is clearly different than most 87-year-olds, although she's modest about being that much different.
Oh, I know a couple who are active. They're both quite deaf.
So the chronological age is obviously not a good measure of true aging. But a University of Kansas researcher has devised a test of functional age, showing how one 65-year-old can differ from another, and showing individual differences that exercise programs should be built around. Out of the pool, Mervyn Anderson's head may still be swimming after one of the functional age tests, the so-called photoelectric rotary pursuit, which means chasing a light around a box with a stick. It's one of about 40 variables Dr. Wayne Osnes uses to come up with a total fitness profile, in effect, a functional age. More conventional yardsticks, like lung volume, may show obvious barriers to exercise. If you can't blow it out like Oscar Howe can, then swimming may be too strenuous. If grip strength is weak, many things in everyday life could be affected.
And we're now talking about the difference between a nursing home and being home taking care of oneself.
Osnes now has profiles of over 4,000 people over age 65 in his computer files, so he can compare apples with apples, 70-year-old apples with 70-year-old apples if need be, and give people an idea of where they could or should be in their fitness and what to work on maybe a bit harder than other things. Older women today face particular challenges aspiring for fitness, considering how they were brought up.
She was taught to be a lady, don't get your dress dirty, certainly do not perspire, and our physical education programs were entirely ineffective because very often they were related to athletic programs, and this woman was taught to sit, be quiet, and our society was entirely against her doing what she really needs to do now, and that is remain active.
But the fitness profiles Osnes has developed, aided by a few good examples like Mervyn Anderson, may help pave the way for our aging society to remain an active society. Gary Schweitzer, CNN, Kansas City.
News from Medicine is brought to you by Bristol-Myers Company, makers of Nuprin. For headache pain, it's medicine with power over pain.
Medical news from Nuprin.
Moments ago, a medical study reported the best news for tough headaches in over 10 years. Beyond regular strength aspirin, beyond extra strength Tylenol, there's a higher level of pain-relieving strength, Nuprin strength. 2 little Nuprin are stronger than extra strength Tylenol, so Nuprin stops headaches better. And remember, Nuprin is gentler to your stomach than aspirin. For strength beyond extra strength Tylenol, Nuprin strength.
We are back, and in just a moment here on Take Two, we'll be taking a much closer look at some of the tall ships still passing in review here just off the coastline of Governor's Island. And one of those ships out there, the Amerigo Vespucci, I believe that's what we're seeing coming into view. A little difficult to monitor, but Peter Stanford will be joining us in just a moment. Tell us about the wonderful tall ships.
CNN's coverage of Liberty Celebration is brought to you by Metropolitan Life and affiliated companies, and by IBM, the connection to have.
There's something about a born leader that you recognize immediately. That's why over 43 million people flock to Metropolitan for insurance protection. That's why 68 of the top 100 American industrial companies come to Metropolitan for employee benefit programs. In fact, Metropolitan is one of America's largest pension asset managers. Because a leader is someone you feel sure about, no matter what. Get Met. It pays.
Where you been?
Busy. My son's home with the family.
From the city? Must have cost a bundle.
He just got a big promotion.
Your son?
Yep. The business was growing too fast. The right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing.
He finally knows his right hand from his left?
He knew IBM could help. They've got computers and software for any size business. He put computers on everyone's desk, used something called telecommunications to tie all their offices together. Now everyone knows what's going on, from L.A. to New York.
No one understands what's going on in New York. How'd your son know IBM did all that?
He's a smart boy.
Smart boy, I'll say. Smart boy. Who'd he take after?
We are back, and among the many ships passing in review today in the International Naval Review is the aircraft carrier, the USS John F. Kennedy, which is the largest of the naval warships that are passing by today in New York's harbor. And the United States and foreign countries are involved in this big naval review, the 5th International, the second to be held in New York.
And joining us now, we are pleased to have the Secretary of the Navy with us, John Lehman. Welcome to Take Two.
Thank you.
How is it out there?
It's great. Best day in naval memory.
How many boats, ships, vessels of all kinds are there out there in the harbor? And is it more than you expected or less?
Yes, it's many more. We had first expected some 30,000 vessels, which boggled the minds of the Coast Guard. Then it was raised to 40,000. And the latest estimate we got this morning, if you look out there, is that by the end of the day, there'll be some 70,000 ships and boats of every description.
That's about 10 times more than in the Normandy invasion.
That's right.
It sounds like Dunkirk almost, but, you know, as we can see your aircraft carrier out there, Admiral, but is it a problem for you to navigate, or the small guys stay out of your way?
Oh, it's not a problem to navigate because we've got 3 anchors down, and there's no problem because we're not underway. And of course our battleship is about 62,000 tons, so people tend to get out of her way.
I would think so. Now the Kennedy is the size, the complement of the crew anyway, of a small town. Of what, Alexandria, Virginia, I think, for one. You have more people on the carrier than Alexandria has in her population.
That's right. You know, we have aboard this ship a crew, and the air wing is aboard, of about 55,000 people, and the average age is 19 and a half.
Earlier I said that the Kennedy was the largest aircraft carrier in the world. I'm not sure I was right. Was I?
Technically, it is not the largest. It's one of the very largest. This is about 85,000 tons. The largest are the Nimitz class, which are 92,000 tons. But it's, give or take a few thousand tons among friends, it's a big carrier.
What sort of a reaction do you get when you suppose people get when they look at a carrier like the Kennedy or the battleship Iowa? Is it just awe-inspiring, or is it
well,
frightening?
It is, because, you know, there's so much silliness that one hears about and reads about navies and battleships that until you actually see this ship or see the battleship with its 19,000 tons of armor plate, you can't realize what a tremendous deterrent and a tremendous power for peace these ships are.
Well, now the Iowa has, correct me if I'm wrong, it has armor plate a foot thick in some parts?
Actually, the thickest part is 19 inches thick in the most vulnerable command and control spaces. An Exocet missile would literally bounce off virtually any part of the Iowa.
You know, it's hard to understand how really rare this occurrence is. There are more than, what, 30 nations represented in
That's right.
New York Harbor right now, and it's very rare for that many sailors to see one another. What is the reaction? I mean, how do the sailors from one country get along with another, for example?
Well, it's been a tremendous occurrence because many of them have gotten here early, and they've all been on liberty ashore, and you cannot go into virtually any watering spot in Manhattan or any of the other 4 boroughs without seeing sailors from many nations in uniform. And I'm told that they have a hard time buying their own drinks. It's the hospitality is so great. And of course, there's tremendous enthusiasm here in New York because, you know, Iowa is coming here to New York for her home port, and the Navy is going to come back in a big way permanently to New York. So there's a special enthusiasm among New Yorkers for the battleship and the battleship sailors.
I'm told, Mr. Secretary, that the Iowa, among other interesting things, when it was constructed, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt went to Tehran for the conference with Churchill and Stalin, that they installed a special bathtub for him, and it's still there.
That's right, and I've had a bath in it, too. It's in the captain's in-port cabin, and it was installed when President Roosevelt went to the Casablanca conference aboard the USS Iowa. These ships have tremendous history to them, and the remarkable thing is that we gain the benefits of these investments of earlier taxpayers. Of course, they were built just about a quarter of a mile away over here at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and yet they're the most modern ships afloat. The battleship is the fastest ship you'll see out here, faster than any of the new Navy ships, and better armed than any ship in naval history.
Well, for those of us who are not that experienced in nautical terms, how fast is that? That's, what, more than 30 knots?
She made 37 knots on her sea trials.
How does that translate to miles per hour?
About 42, 43 miles an hour.
That's cooking.
Secretary Lehman, I read in the paper this morning that it would be fine with you if there were more women admirals in the Navy.
That's for sure. We have been expanding the role of women in the Navy steadily, and the great thing about it is that the women themselves have earned that expansion, and it expands every day. We have women jet pilots and ships navigators, and we have every single professional specialty now with women leaders and sailors involved in it, with only 2 exceptions that are prohibited by law: submarines and special warfare. So women are really earning a tremendous place in the Navy of today.
Is it harder, though, for women in the Navy to get ahead than in other branches of the service?
Well, I don't think so, really. I think that there are frustrations for women that are involved with the Title VIII prohibition on combat roles. Women have fared very well. A few years ago, Congress ordered that they must compete with men in all of the selection boards, and so there was some fear that because they could not be assigned to combatant commands, they could not compete. In fact, they've done better than compete, and their average promotion rate has been higher than men, going right up in competition with them. So I think those apprehensions were groundless.
Secretary Lehman, thank you so much for joining us today on Take 2 from the USS Kennedy. Thank you very much.
Enjoy your July 4th as well. Fantastic ships still cruising down here, and we're going to keep our eye on them with a man who knows everything there is about these tall ships in just a moment as we continue on Take 2.
Real barbecue, America's national dish. When you're talking classic barbecue sauce, you're really talking about 2 basic types. One's called a mop, and it's traditionally put on the food before and during the cooking. It adds flavor and moisture to the food. In Texas, this first sauce is often put on with a mop, which is precisely how it got its name. The second is called a barbecue sauce. It's served with the dish and used for dipping into at the table. Sandro Prosperi at New York's Carolina restaurant has a recipe that works both ways. First is a mop before and during cooking, and then is a sauce at the table. Puree 4 cups of onions in a blender and cook them in a ½ cup of olive oil. Add 10 cups of tomato puree, 6 cups of water, and 1 cup of Durkee Frank's Louisiana Red Hot sauce right out of the bottle. A pound of brown sugar, 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, half a dozen bay leaves, and a little pepper. Bring that to a boil and let it simmer there for 20 minutes. And now you're ready for mopping and dipping and real good eating. If you'd like a copy of that recipe, just send a stamped self-addressed envelope marked Carolina Barbecue Sauce. Send it to me at 30 Lincoln Plaza, New York City, New York. The zip code is 10023. I'll pop it in the mail to you free. Well, that's what's cooking for today. I'm Bert Wolf.
What's Cookin' is brought to you by Holly Farms fresh premium quality chicken. America is cooking with Holly Farms.
Okay, Dinah, this commercial is about Holly Farms Prime Parts.
Prime Parts?
And how they can satisfy people who love breasts, wings, legs.
Oh, I have this thing about legs. This is a Holly Farms Prime Part chicken leg, and this is a breast with the basil garlic sauce, and these are the spicy apricot wings.
Yes, Dinah, but we're leaving out a part.
Thighs. I left out the thighs. I'm sorry.
The end part, Dinah.
The end. Oh, the end part. America is cooking with Holly Farms.
Prime performance, Dinah.
Where'd he go?
And second prize
Thank
goes
you.
to...
Here in Hidden Valley at the county fair, there's no competition when it comes to salad dressing. Hidden Valley Ranch is the only dressing Chris Osborne will put on his prize tomato. And Mary Dole loves it on her winning lettuce. Yep, that Hidden Valley Ranch salad dressing is thick and creamy, seasoned just the way ranch was meant to be. Even for Jill's second place carrot. With Hidden Valley Ranch, there's just no competition.
Hey, come on! Hey, Moms. A kid needs some things to call his own. So buy your kid a sports car, or a VCR, or sugar-free Kool-Aid. Yeah! I thought you'd like the idea. It's the one sugar-free for kids, the only one with that awesome Kool-Aid taste. You were a kid once. Wasn't Kool-Aid your favorite?
And Moms, it has vitamin C, 100% NutraSweet, and no saccharin.
Michael?
It's the one sugar-free for kids.
When Frederick August Bartholdi created the first model of the Statue of Liberty in 1870, the United States Life Insurance Company was already 20 years old. Today, it's part of U.S. Life Corporation, a life insurance holding company celebrating its own 20th anniversary. The business community knows us for our financial strength, our independent agents for our stability, and our policyholders for our quality products. The quality of life is what we're all about.
We are back, and it's a glorious day here in New York. As you can see, you couldn't have ordered better room service weather, Lois. Beautiful blue skies, a bit on the windy side, but as Peter Stanford, president of the National Maritime Historical Society, tells us right now, this is perfect sailing weather, isn't it, Peter?
It is indeed. This is just what you want to move a little and hang out all the washing, as they say.
Peter, we got a shot of one of the grander tall ships sailing through today, of these tall ships. The Amerigo Vespucci. Spanish?
She certainly is. She's certainly grand. She's Italian. She's Italian and was built in 31, so she's getting to be a grand old lady. But she is very extensively campaigned, and she has to face the sea when it's as bad as it is for anybody else.
I hear her accoutrements inside are the best available, that ship inside is just the most beautiful there is.
The Waldorf Astoria of ships.
Yes, at least. Better, really. And very good cooking, too. Wonderful kids. That's the most important things these ships carry, of course, is the young men and women.
You know, I've wondered about that, and it turns out that what these ships, all of these tall ships, are really used for these days is to train sailors. They're not really used commercially.
Well, they're really used to do more than train sailors. They're used to train people for life. It's not just a matter of the skills you learn aren't going to be much use at sea.
But you're talking about building character as well as training.
You really are, yeah. Right here in New York Harbor, we had a schooner, the Pioneer, which took former criminal offenders and drug abusers and had a 100% job placement rate out of that program because it taught them how to move that vessel without mechanical assistance, nothing but their own cooperative efforts, and they just come out of there ready to take on the world in a constructive way.
I was surprised to learn from you that although these ships might seem to be anachronisms to some people because they are, I guess, only training vessels, that there are still more of these being created.
Yes, indeed. They're being built. There are 4 new ships in this parade that were built in Spain for their former colonies in South and Central America. And there are new boats being built, not these great square riggers, but they're new schooners, smaller vessels, being built on all 4 coasts, as a matter of fact.
Well, a perfect example of that, as you pointed out, Peter, is the Mexican entry here, which is now just off of Governor's Island. If we can pick up a shot, that's the white ship, guys.
Yes.
The Cuauhtémoc, I believe is the pronunciation?
I hope it's the pronunciation. Yeah. Anyway, the Cuauhtémoc is a beautiful ship.
There it is.
And she is named for the last Aztec emperor who was killed by the conquistadors, the Spaniards. And it's very nice that Mexico today wants to remember that part of their heritage and name a ship for it. And she was built, of course, in Spain.
Now, if we can get technical for a moment, what do you call this? Is this a barkentine or a bark or what?
She's called a bark, and that's because she has squaresails on her first 2 masts, and then she has a gaff rig, which is a more common thing that you do see on ordinary yachts and pleasure boats today, on the 3rd mast. But the square rig is the thing that conquered the North Atlantic, and that's what evokes so much of the feeling in these ships. It's a very, very traditional rig, and it's a real man-killer to handle.
I was going to ask you about that. I mean, on open sea, it's one thing to sail one of these, and it's difficult at best. Most of these captains and crews, can they actually sail them right into berth?
No, very few can do that.
If you can do that, you really met the ultimate challenge, I guess.
Well, that is an ultimate challenge. Anyway. The Denmark is famous for doing that, but they have perhaps the most skilled crews. They go on very long voyages, so they really get a chance to train the young men and women nowadays.
Is the Denmark the ship that allows not just naval recruits, or I mean anybody from the country in Denmark can go out and sail on the Denmark?
Yeah, the sponsorship of all these vessels is different. In some cases, like the Libertad, that's the Argentine Navy. The Denmark is maintained for anybody who wants to subscribe and get out to sea, and our own Eagle is the U.S. Coast Guard, which is non-military, but it is a uniform. Well, it is somewhat military, but it's mainly a life-saving.
Don't tell Elizabeth Dole that.
Is it my imagination, or does each of these ships really have a unique design?
Well, there are a lot of unique details in all the designs, but actually, when they get something they really like, they keep on building to it. So the Eagle is one of 5 vessels built to the same design, and they were all built in Hitlerite Germany, as a matter of fact, in the 1930s. But they're all sailing to much better purposes today. The Sagres from Portugal is the other ship that is an exact sister ship of the Eagle, and she was built as the Albert Leo Schlagatter in...
Very good.
Yes.
Well, you have to be an expert to know all about that, and for that, I'm glad that you are with us today, Peter Stanford, because they are, as beautiful as they are confusing.
Well, you do get to know them. Like, they're like people, and they have their personalities. It's an amalgam of the outfit that's sailing them.
They have a personality and a spirit, I'm told, all of their own at times. So Peter will continue to stay with us as we continue to watch the tall ships pass in review today, along with the International Naval Review and everything else that is going on here in New York. It's a party, folks. We'll be continuing on Take Two in just a moment.
You know, a big whaler dealer like me has to keep up on the action. The players, who's hot, Who's not? And what's a better deal than picking up a copy of Sports Illustrated? You see, Sports Illustrated...
Excuse me, sir, but I got a better deal.
Yeah, kid, right. I'll handle this. You see, Sports Illustrated gives me more than just stats and scores. I get the feeling of what it's like to hit a brick wall at 30 miles an hour. How it feels to look down the barrel of a loaded gun. To lose a tough one. And how it feels to win it all. That's what Sports Illustrated gives me.
Well, Sports Illustrated gave me this NFL Follies video cassette. Free, with my paid subscription. It's 44 minutes of fumbles, foolery, and follies. It makes a great gift, and it's free.
Free? Come on, kid. This is America. Nobody gives you something for nothing.
Okay, free for subscribing to Sports Illustrated.
Aha!
Ah, but that's just the half of it. I get Sports Illustrated for less than one-half your newsstand price. 27 action-packed weeks of football, baseball, basketball, and more delivered right to your door for 3 installments of just $9.79 each.
That's more than 50% off.
Subscribe now and you get the College and Pro Football Spectacular. Plus, you get this handy NFL schedule free, and you get the famous swimsuit issue uncovering what truly is man's favorite spectator sport. Phones are open now. Just call this toll-free number and you get the whole deal. You can even use your credit card.
Okay, let's get this straight. They get a 50% savings, the schedule, the football spectacular, the swimsuit issue, and the free NFL tape. Now, see, kid, that's a great deal.
Gee, sir, you're right.
Yeah.
Get the savings, get the special issues, get the NFL schedule, get the video cassette.
Oh, Sports Illustrated? I want to renegotiate.
Sports Illustrated. Get the feeling.
Call now, 1-800-221-6100.
Still to come in the next hour of Take Two with Dave Walker and Lois Hart live from Governor's Island, the 1986 Parade of Sail continues as hundreds of tall ships from over 30 nations salute Liberty Day. Also this hour, the true stories of English and Austrian immigrants, their hardships and triumphs in a new country. The 4th of July Liberty Day celebration continues live on Take Two.
And the 4th of July weather looks like this. You can see a line of showers here across the Great Lakes area. This is really the only area of heavy weather that we saw last night, or severe weather. One tornado did touch down in Minnesota, Parham, Minnesota. Brainerd, Minnesota reported some wind damage due to 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts associated with thunderstorms there. It has calmed a bit now, as you can see, and much of the east and the Midwest enjoying very nice weather today. Few showers are in Florida. We do have an area of rainfall that we think will grow in size as we move on throughout the afternoon. It reaches from Arizona all the way up through the Rockies into the northern Rockies. All the weather details coming up throughout the afternoon. Now stay tuned for more of Take Two.
Liberty is the statue, and much more.
CNN's Liberty coverage continues with Nancy Reagan officially opening the Statue of Liberty and go live to New York Harbor for the Parade of Ships. Celebrate Liberty tomorrow, live on CNN. The Goodwill Games, a competition for peace, begins. Look for the opening highlights on Goodwill 86, Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on CNN.
This is CNN, a service of Turner Broadcasting System.
Live, this is Take Two with Dave Walker and Lois Hart.
Hi, everybody, as we continue on this July 4th special edition of Take Two for the Liberty celebration, coming at you live from New York, and there's the lady herself. And for anybody out there who may feel funny about putting on a little weight, this one thing to take note of, consider, the Statue of Liberty has a waist 35 feet around.
Dave, of course, along with all the festivities and the fun out here, there are 2 heads of state participating in Liberty Weekend, and there's been a lot of speculation as to whether President Reagan would ask French President Francois Mitterrand to deliver a message to the Soviet leader Gorbachev when Mitterrand goes to Moscow next week. At a photo opportunity with newsmen, the president said that he thought it would be inappropriate to impose on Mitterrand. And when he asked if he would respond to a letter sent to him by Gorbachev on arms control, the president replied, "We're working on it." The president was also asked to comment on Gorbachev's recent statements that he is not serious about arms control, and Mr. Reagan replied, "He is just misinformed." Finally, the president was asked about the Schultz-Weinberger controversy, and he said they are his right and left hand. He said, quote, "I couldn't do it without them."
And now for the latest news and more news, here's Rick Moore in Atlanta. Rick.
Okay, thanks, Dave and Lois. And topping the news at this hour, there's been another bombing in South Africa. At least 15 people have been wounded by a bomb planted in a trash can outside a supermarket in Pretoria. This is the 12th bombing since the latest state of emergency began in mid-June. The South African government blames the African National Congress for the bombings. Things are returning to normal today in Santiago, Chile. 2 days of anti-government protest and strikes are over. Tens of thousands of shopkeepers, bus and truck drivers returned to work, but not before some people were killed and many others thrown in jail. At least 6 died during the disturbance. Residents report that army and police patrols opened fire on the city streets. At least 50 people were wounded. Some 600 were arrested during the protest against the Pinochet government. For the first time in 4 years, Syrian soldiers are manning checkpoints in Beirut. A Syrian intelligence officer says it's part of a new security plan aimed at controlling the power of the militias that dominate West Beirut. The Syrian security people were seen at a checkpoint at American University. The university has been the site of a number of kidnappings. The Syrians supervised traffic, stopped cars, and searched occupants. Philippine riot police clashed with about 5,000 anti-American protesters today outside the American embassy in Manila. Officials say at least 13 people were injured. Police used guns, tear gas, and smoke grenades to break up the crowd. The demonstrators were protesting alleged American intervention in the Philippines. It was the first time police have clashed with supporters of President Corazon Aquino since she took power in February. Well, the Goodwill Games are now underway in Moscow, but the Defense Department is refusing to allow military members of the U.S. boxing team to take part. Officials say they are worried the Soviets might exploit the boxers for political purposes. A spokesman for Turner Broadcasting, co-sponsor of the games with the Soviets, says he hopes the decision can be overturned. Those are some of the stories we're following today. Let's follow Dave and Lois again now for the celebration in New York as Take Two continues.
Rick, indeed, we are enjoying ourselves here today. It's a spectacular day. I don't know if you can see in the background, but one of the tall ships continues to sail by, the Sølundet. It's a ship from Norway built in 1927, which I've just been told by Peter Stanford, who is helping us along. Ship spotting today, same year that Peter was born. Anyway, we'll continue to be watching the tall ships, and now we're going to check in with Charles Feldman, who is live with us from Battery Park. Charles, what's going on over there?
Well, Dave, next to your television set, this is probably the best place to be along the banks of the Hudson River for Operation Sail. For the past couple of hours, we have been watching these beautiful, tall ships going by, sailing very slowly in this wind on their trip up the Hudson River to the George Washington Bridge, where they're going to delicately, we hope, turn around and then make the trip all the way back down south again to the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. And accompanying these tall ships, of course, as you can see, lots of boats, private boats from people all over the United States who have come to New York City to help celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Statue of Liberty on this July 4th, 1986. Outside this area, it is packed. There are thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, in fact, trying to get as close to the shoreline as possible to get a glimpse of the tall ships. They are in a festive mood, as far as we can tell. No trouble spots. Everybody wants to party. It's sort of like a giant picnic area, and since there's no traffic being allowed in the lower portions of Manhattan, it is, in fact, a large place to have fun in. And so we're having fun. Charles Feldman, CNN, reporting live from Battery Park.
Started at 7 a.m. with all the other networks.
We will continue our coverage of Liberty Weekend in New York City, and we will be joined in just a minute by the man who put it all together, Lee Iacocca.
CNN's coverage of Liberty Celebration is brought to you by Metropolitan Life and affiliated companies.
Hi, I'm John Creedon, president of Metropolitan Life. This 4th of July is a spectacular celebration of our country's independence. The restoration of the Statue of Liberty is a special cause for pride, patriotism, and optimism for all Americans. All of us in the MetLife family of companies wish you a happy 4th of July. Please join the 44 million members of the MetLife family. Remember, get Met, it pays.
In just a minute, you're going to find out how you can get a combination alarm clock telephone free. So stay where you are. Then I'll be right back to tell you more.
When you read Time each week, you know more. You understand.
Time flies and you are there. Time cries and lets you care. You understand the world we share.
Now Time is offering you more than ever. Order Time right now, and you'll get this terrific alarm clock and push-button telephone in one, free with your paid subscription.
Yes, time brings you closer to living. Time puts events in sharper view. Time brings it all right home to you.
Each week, Time takes you beyond the news to show you how fascinating the world really is. And now you can get Time for almost half off the cover price. Call 1-800-321-7700 and get 30 issues of Time, payable in 4 easy installments of just $7.49 each. Order now, and you'll also get Time's combination alarm clock telephone free. This handsome space saver comes complete with snooze bar and automatic redial, perfect for your desk or bedside. So call 1-800-321-7700 right now.
Throughout your world, throughout your land, time puts it all right in your hand. Return and understand.
Hi, I'm Nancy, one of the operators here at Time. If you call us right now, we'll send you Time magazine at almost half off the cover price. And you'll also get, free with your paid subscription, the Time alarm clock telephone, featuring snooze alarm and automatic redial. This offer won't last long, so call now.
Joining us now on the Liberty edition of Take Two is the chairman of the Statue of Liberty Ellis Island Foundation, Lee Iacocca.
As you know, he was chairman of the government Centennial Commission, too, until he was fired by Interior Secretary Donald Hodel. Mr. Hodel saying it was a conflict of interest for Mr. Iacocca to head both the private fundraising group and a commission charged with providing independent advice to the secretary.
Thank you for joining us. I saw Mr. Hodel introduce you last night at the big ceremonies. It seems everything is all smoothed over.
Had a few differences of opinion, but they're all behind us. And
well, what were they and how were they settled? What you didn't want the government to...
It's too complex to talk about on such a beautiful day. Today we're here to celebrate, and we had some differences of opinion on how Ellis Island should be finished off, but they got 6 years to do that. So we should enjoy today and the Statue of Liberty. And Ellis Island, the north side of the island, we're spending $100 million to do the Great Hall. And then the other side of the island, the other 20 acres, why good people, good Americans will get together and figure out what's the best thing to do.
I wanted to ask you about that. What do you think it will be? Does anybody have a definite idea yet?
Not firm yet. I never had one, in fact. It could be just a beautiful park, left as is, in a natural state. I think whatever we do, it should try to enhance the immigrant experience. So people would take their children and grandchildren there and be able to be educated and entertained for a day. And there are many ways to do that. I'm sure it'll work out fine.
Let me ask you, your parents immigrated into this country from Italy.
Yeah.
Your mother's still alive?
Mother's here. Yeah.
Is she here?
Yeah. Oh, last night she got pretty cold. She's 83,
Everybody
but she was
did.
a good sport. Yeah, when she arrived, she had typhoid fever, I said, you know?
Yeah.
And last night she said, I got the same chills as I got when I was 17.
In many ways, I suppose, too. Some people have said, suggested anyway, that you're doing this for your dad in a way.
Well, I started that way, sure. When they asked me, I said it's a little cliche now. It was a labor of love for my mother and my father. We talked about the statue, and he brought me here a couple of times. He was one of those real patriots, you know, of the old school. And, yeah, I wanted to get involved, and I'm glad I did. It's been 4 years of hard work, but I did it in his memory and for my mother.
Mr. Iacocca, despite whatever problems there were and whatever differences you did have with the secretary, it seems that everything is going fine. This is a huge success. You raised more money than you even thought you would. The question is now, Are you going to run for president? Everybody thinks if you can pull this off.
I'll answer, number one, the answer to that is an unequivocal no, okay?
Really?
Right. As far as the celebration, God was good to us because we prayed long and hard for good weather. We had an alternate rain plan, but I think it had really been gotten messed up if we had to invoke it. But it's had a few glitches, but it's just, you know, a wonderful day. If you don't enjoy the 4th of July today, I'd say you have to be dead because I've had goosebumps for 2 days.
But what about running for president?
No, I'm not a politician. I couldn't do that. Well, it's a little late in life to start a new career, right? It's like getting into broadcasting, right?
Well, President Reagan didn't think
President
so.
Reagan.
Well, he wanted it. He wanted to be president.
Why wouldn't you want it? Is it politics? I mean, as the boss of Chrysler, what you say pretty much goes. When you're a politician, you got to quibble.
Oh, I could conciliate and compromise, but really, it's. I always said it took me 40 years in the auto business, and I just got the hang of it the last 10. And to go into something new, I think I would like to serve my country in some way, and I probably will. I'll be vocal. I don't know whether I'm Democrat or Republican. I like to think I'm from a common sense party, and the country needs it.
But can we settle that? Which are you, Democrat, Republican?
Well, I vote independently, believe me. I used to say I'm a registered Republican, but in Michigan you don't have to register. But in Pennsylvania I was for a long time. In the Depression we were all Democrats. We sort of changed with the times.
Whenever your name is mentioned out here this weekend, there's applause, and a lot of people read that as an indication of how popular you are.
They're grateful.
Your book has sold millions and millions of copies.
I know, but
do you have any thoughts on what your own appeal is?
I think they identify with me as an immigrant. You know, came up the hard way and made it. Other people identify with me. I didn't know there are many people out there who have gotten fired sometime in their life. Anybody who's gotten fired writes me, having the same adversity I had. But I really think it's sort of people reaching back to their roots and reliving what their parents gave them. And I did that, but 17 million people came through Ellis Island, and they say my book, it sounded like their parents talking to them. It was the same story, a little bit hackneyed, but...
Well, how do you hold up to, I mean, people are describing you now as a folk hero.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know what a folk hero is. I know my privacy went to hell.
Well, I mean, it is an intrusion on your privacy. You're a larger-than-life person now.
I'd be less than honest if I didn't say a day like today makes me feel real good.
Yeah.
People are happy, and people do applaud, and I think they applaud the effort of doing all of this. And like I say, they identify with people, and I happen to be one they identified with, maybe through a book. I don't know, maybe through my commercials. Who knows?
That you're a hero to your own employees.
I'm a hero to my family. That's the most important thing.
Well, I was reading and hearing about the big party you threw for your Chrysler people on board the QE2.
Oh yeah, that was a gas. That really was.
Boy, that should make anybody want to go to work for Chrysler. Tell us about that little party.
Well, they worked very hard for 3 months, and those who sold the most cars, there were 700 couples out of 4,000 who won. And we took them to Paris on a beautiful formal dinner at Versailles Palace, and then put them in the QE2. And I traveled with them for 5 days. The seas were rough, and everybody got sick, but they were happy sicks. And now they're in the harbor. I had to get off in Bermuda to come over for these festivities. But I think it's, again, a joyous occasion for this whole Chrysler family to be together on one ship.
And as Mr. Iacocca said just before the interview, that happens every 100 years as well.
Just exactly, yeah.
I guess you must be happy with how business is going.
Business is going very well, very well.
The car sales are up higher than anybody else's when you're out of the country.
That gives me pause for a little thought there. I've been away for 3 weeks, and the sales have never been better. I better get back.
You mentioned earlier in the conversation here, you would like to serve your country in some way. How?
Well, the commission was one. I mean, doing this for 4 years. But I think all citizens get involved, and I do have all the people running for president are friends of mine. There's about a dozen of them, by the way, on each side. So I'm going to spend time with them, and I want to see who has the best thoughts for the future of this country. And
so you'll be campaigning for somebody?
Maybe not too soon, and maybe not too directly, but eventually, yes. I think you got to bet on somebody who's good for the next phase. After President Reagan has done a fantastic job for this country, in 5 years' time, just instilling this spirit of patriotism and. They talk about standing tall and the like, but he's done that. Let's face it, we needed it.
Have you singled out anybody yet?
No, they're all good. They got a lot of horses in the race this time, and good ones, and may the best man win.
Would you serve in somebody's cabinet, administration?
Possibly.
What would you like to do? If you had your druthers, they said, name it.
Work on economics. I think we got a lot of problems with trade deficits and budget deficits, but who wants to talk about them today on such a beautiful day?
Well,
but those problems will stay with us and our kids for 50 years, so somebody's got to start digging at them, and That I understand. Other things, other issues I don't understand as well.
I guess you're worried about the deficit, in other words.
Yes, I'm worried about mortgaging our future forever. I really think it's bad. So we had a good feeling for 5, 6 years, but now we got to get down to work and pay off all the debts.
You took a little flack for the over-commercialization, some people said, of this project. Any regrets?
I bet you're tired.
Why do you ask me that? I'm tired of it. No, really. Secretary Schultz sat behind me last night, and he tapped me on the shoulder and said, "What a wonderful, wonderful party." He said, "Where are all the critics tonight?" Which I thought was very nice of him. But commercialization, maybe that's America. 100 years ago, Bartholdi sold the logo, Pulitzer, Twisted Arms. We never changed. You know, that's one of our traits.
That is America.
Yeah, we didn't, by the way. The commercialization of people doing the statue in chopped liver and stuff, we have no control over that. She's in the public domain. We tried. We only made $8 million off of all the trinkets we sold. We tried to use some taste to do that. But we got charged with abusing it, and we didn't. But the people at large did their own thing, and some people didn't like it.
100 years ago, Castoria, which was a laxative, wanted to put their logo on the base of the statue. You know, so some things never change, do they?
Bartholdi held a press conference in the knee. He wanted to be in her knee. I don't know why he wanted to be in her knee, whoever that was, to get publicity. So it never stops. But look, the bottom line is it turned out fantastic for everybody. And I think, look out at this scene. The American public is having a great Independence Day.
I know we are, and we thank you so much for being with us.
Nice to be with you.
You enjoy your vacation. Well-deserved. Coming up next. Iacocca, thanks for being with us.
Nice to be with you.
Where we go next year? We're going to check out the weather with Flip?
No, we will have more coverage of Liberty Weekend in just a second. We'll be right back.
Make a nice team.
The Statue of Liberty, that Iron Lady, was the hope, mine and millions before me.
Watch this amazing demonstration of the Tannery Wash and Wax, an amazing one-step formulation that washes away even tough road film as it automatically waxes your car so well with polysilicones that water beads. Add it to water according to directions, and then wash. As I'm washing this side, I'm also waxing with the polysilicones found in the higher-priced car polishes. Now I'll do the other side with another popular car wash product, so you can see the difference. Okay, now I'm done with this side, and we're ready for the hose. Look what's happening to the side with the Tannery. The water is beading. With Tannery Wash and Wax, you simply wash your car and it's waxed. Better yet, it prolongs the life of waxed or polysealed finishes. Tannery Wash and Wax. At better stores everywhere. Works like a wash, beads like a wax.
What's the only live half-hour TV program devoted entirely to showbiz? It's Showbiz Today, telling you about the latest movies.
And what's on TV, broadcast, cable, and home video.
The latest in theater.
And from the world of music.
I'm Liz Rickersham.
And I'm Lee Leonard. All that and more each weekday on Showbiz Today.
The Goodwill Games, a competition for peace, begins. Look for the opening highlights on Goodwill 86, Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on CNN.
Oh, we are back, and we are enjoying a beautiful July 4th celebration, and of course, it's the immigrant experience. We all are immigrants, I guess, with the exception of the American Indians in this country. And it was a 91-year-old woman donated money for Liberty Space and wrote, "I was 24 when I first met you the first time. You have kept most of your promises. I have done the best I could. I have not grown rich, but I have been happy most of the time." She concluded, "I love you, America."
The letter is typical of thousands sent to the Statue of Liberty during the restoration project. Lynn Bundesen happened across the letters and edited them into the book, Dear Miss Liberty, and in a moment we'll tell you how to get it. And with us, along with Miss Bundesen, are two contributors to the book, Austrian immigrant Elizabeth Grosdos and Eleanor Lenhart, an English immigrant. Welcome all to Take Two today. Lynn, tell us a little bit how you did the project. How'd you get the access to the letters?
Well, I was in New York, Lois, in April, and I heard about letters that had been sent with money to the foundation. And so I kept asking about the letters, and a friend finally read me one, the one that you all just read before, and when I heard it, I cried.
And then it became a labor of love to find more letters and get them together. And the letters in the book, Dear Miss Liberty, are just the tip of the iceberg of letters that people wrote to the
Lynn, the reaction to the Statue of Liberty, did you find a commonality there? What did it
Yes.
mean to the immigrants?
Well, the letters that I think were just the pure, genuine expressions of the way people in this country who were immigrants, and some who are children and grandchildren of immigrants, and some school children who've not yet seen the statue, their letters are in the book too. So they are just pure, genuine expressions of, they identify with her as if she were a person, an intimate friend with whom you could speak, a turning point in their lives, something larger than themselves and more significant, but in which they're included in the American experience of people in the United States. They have a tone like music, you know. There's a pure thought behind them, and I think when you read them, you'll get, each one gets out of it what they want.
I'd like to ask some of our guests to read the letters that they contributed to the book. First, Elizabeth and Emmerich Garasdos from Austria joining us. Welcome. Why don't you go ahead and read your letter to us?
Mrs. Garasdos was born in Vienna, Austria, 81 years ago, and came to the USA in 1923. I preceded her by 2 years, and like all Europeans in those days, we were looking forward to seeing the Statue of Liberty when our ship entered the New York harbor. We got married 62 years ago and had 3 children, 1 school teacher, 1 nurse, and a scientist in the space program. We have 20 grandchildren, among them 2 school teachers, 2 nurses, 1 policeman, 1 clergyman, and a vice president of the Chase Manhattan Bank stationed in London, England. Others are students at Princeton, University of Maryland, and Johns Hopkins University. Furthermore, we have 20 grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and 3 more announced. What their ambitions will be, we don't know yet. Could it be a future president of this great country? So you see, the lady in the New York harbor has fulfilled our greatest expectation, and our American dream has become reality.
They certainly have, and that's beautifully said as well. And now I'd like to welcome Eleanor Lenhart. You're an English immigrant. Tell us what you wrote.
Tell you what I wrote?
Yes, if you would.
I wrote about my first glimpse of the Statue of Liberty. She was a beautiful sight. After crossing the ocean, rather a miserable trip. My mother was seasick.
I bet, and that was not an uncommon experience for many of the immigrants coming to America.
Right.
Why did you decide to come here, and when did you come here?
We came in 1921. I was 7 years old then, and my father had a trade. He was a printer, and after he was in the First World War in the British Army for 5 years. When he came out, he started his own business, and it was not successful. He had a brother who was a Methodist minister in Winona, Minnesota. And they wrote and said, why don't you come to America and start over? And we did.
Ms. Lenhart, before we let you go, why don't you go ahead and read us your letter?
Thank you. All right. I said I was writing in 1984, and I said, I now am 70 years old, but still remember my first glimpse of the Statue of Liberty. She was a beautiful sight. After a miserable crossing that September, she held such promise for us all. With her arm flung high, the torch lighting the way, opening a new world to those who would accept the challenge. Well, we did. And the challenge began the moment we entered New York Harbor. First and second class on our ship, the Berengaria, left immediately for the mainland. We, the third class, were quarantined for 2 days, sitting in the harbor. We then were sent to Ellis Island on a smelly barge and treated like cattle. The numbers coming over from Europe to the Promised Land must have taxed the facilities and the immigration employees beyond belief. On the other hand, immigrants, after being accepted into the U.S., had problems of recovering luggage, getting to the mainland, getting to their destination, and we, my parents and I, could speak English. We were able to make a successful new life here, and I'm sure most of those who arrived when we did were successful too. I'm very grateful to be part of America, a naturalized citizen. My parents walked 7 miles to the county courthouse and 7 miles home when they obtained their citizenship papers. And writing in 1984, I said, it is sad that our shining symbol has been allowed to deteriorate so badly. But let's repair it without delay and hope that it will continue to show the way to other millions of oppressed and poor. And that was my...
Indeed, it has. A beautiful letter, Ms. Lenhart. Thank you for joining us here on Take Two. And now, if you wanted to catch that phone number, I think we're going to post that on the screen for you.
This is how you can get the book. We're about to put the phone number up, I think, and we want to thank Lynn Bundesen for putting that book together, and to our guests as well. Thank you again to Elizabeth and Emma Gorazdos for joining us today, and Eleanor Lenhart.
And a happy July 4th to you.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more Take Two right after this.
Start spreading the news.
Heard the news? Ounce for ounce, Philadelphia brand cream cheese has just half the calories of butter or margarine. So,
Start spreading the news.
Rich, creamy, Philadelphia brand cream cheese. Since 1880, half the calories of butter or margarine.
Start spreading the news.
Alan Abelson, the editor of Barron's.
Usually buy a stock in the expectation that it's going to go up. The problem is you're buying it from someone equally convinced that it's going to go down. Now, who would you rather be? The person who reads Barron's or the person who doesn't?
Subscribe to Barron's now and get 26 weeks for only $41 with a money-back guarantee. Call 800-257-1257. 800-257-1257.
This is CNN, the world's most important network.
Liberty is the statue, and much more.
CNN's Liberty coverage continues, with Nancy Reagan officially opening the Statue of Liberty, and go live to New York Harbor for the Parade of Ships. Celebrate Liberty tomorrow, live on CNN.
Now, you too can get VIP treatment and big savings just by carrying the Players Club Go Card. You'll save money on rooms, on top-name entertainment, on food and beverages. And you'll never have to wait in long registration and show lines again. Look, you can stay at some of the finest resorts in the world's most exciting vacation cities. Hey, no strings attached to get the club's benefits. You listen to telly? Call Players Club today.
Welcome back to the 4th of July on Take Two, the most magnificent celebration I think any of us has ever seen. In a few moments, we're going to be lucky enough to talk to the captain of the ship Eagle, which is one of those beautiful, tall ships, in this case, one of the American ones. It's actually a Coast Guard ship. Ernest Cummings will be joining us in just a few moments here on Take Two.
Right now, we'll catch up with all the latest news. Rick Moore in Atlanta joining us once again. Rick?
Okay, Dave, and in the news at this hour, Kraft is recalling some of its ice cream bars and is shutting down the Richmond, Virginia plant where they were made. The Polar Bar, a flavored ice cream bar coated with chocolate, was found to contain a deadly bacteria. So far, no illnesses have been reported. The 5 flavored bars being recalled were distributed in the eastern section of the United States. If you have Polar Bars, check the code number on the outside of the cardboard package. The results indicate that the recalls carry the number 516426. If you have any, the company advises you to throw out the ice cream and bring the wrapper back to your store for a full refund. The leaders of the nation's 2 largest teachers' unions are throwing their support behind the movement for a National Teacher Standards Board. American Federation of Teachers President Albert Shanker is expected to endorse the idea in a speech later today. National Education Association President Mary Futrell did so yesterday. The rival unions are holding separate conventions this weekend. Supporters say it will help elevate the standards of the profession. The man who became a star in the 1920s singing songs through a megaphone is dead. Rudy Vallee died last night in Los Angeles after suffering a slight stroke. He was 84. Vallee was a star on radio, Broadway, and in the movies, crooning songs such as Vagabond Lover and the Whiffin' Poof song. His wife said he died while watching Liberty Weekend festivities on television. New York is not the only place celebrating the 4th of July holiday. In the nation's capital, people were dressing up for the nation's 210th birthday, reenacting the past. From the noontime parade down Constitution Avenue to the 3rd U.S. Infantry Old Guard and reading of the original Declaration of Independence, the celebration continues in full force. Of course, the big celebration is in New York Harbor with the lady, and up there with them, Dave and Lois, and Take Two.
Yeah, how would you like it, Rick, if somebody threw a party and about 10 million people showed up in your neighborhood? And that's the way it's going here in New York.
As long as it was at your house and not mine.
I want to show you before we...
Yeah, some of the ships that continue to roll on by here. Just take a peek out in the harbor if we can before we have our nutrition report. The ship Peter Stamford is with us once again. We're looking at right now?
On screen? I can't quite tell.
I think it's a Captain Miranda. This is the one that's right behind us now.
Oh, yes.
I'm not sure that's the picture we have, but right behind us now is the Captain Miranda. Sorry, guys. We wanted to show the viewers what a beautiful ship this one was, too. This one's from Uruguay?
From Uruguay, that's right. And she, for a time, she was without sails, but they re-rigged her because they wanted to, they'd caught on to this thing that is behind Operation Sail, that it's important training, not for technical skills, but learning to work together, that kind of thing, loyalty, cheerfulness, things you have to do if you're going to drive a big sailing ship. And they gave her a really ultra-modern rig. They didn't take a traditional viewpoint at all about it.
I think we've got this a little mixed up. I think our camera is looking at the picture of the boat with a blue stripe on this side,
well,
Peter.
That's
I'm sorry.
The Bounty. That, I understand
that's
that
the Bounty. That belongs to CNN in the MGM takeover. I think we kept that one.
Just fired a shot, but I don't think that John F. Kennedy is frightened.
They do know how to party on the Bounty. I can tell you, it's being staffed by a TBS crew, and they are not a mutinous crew. They are a partying crew. At any rate, we'll continue to watch the festivities here in the harbor. But we're going to find out about food, which there is, of course, plenty of here in New York. And in this country, you can find just about any kind of food, I suppose, you want to eat from just about any nation. And as CNN's Mark Wolf reports now, you can even find foods you may never have heard of, like, get this, gooey duck clam.
What on earth is a gooey duck? It is a clam, a very long-necked clam.